Hey, hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to SOS, episode 49.
Correct.
Shit, I forgot what I was going to say. It was something I was going to say. It's gone. Welcome back to the show. One of the last 4 episodes now.
Yep.
Of the show. Man, we are barreling toward a conclusion. What that conclusion is, we'll find out. But I'm very excited. Today's going to be an extra. I mean, the next 4 episodes are going to be don't miss. And thank you guys for showing up on a Sunday. We appreciate that. I was at a wedding yesterday, so I was, busy. And
was it fun? Did you party? Did you dance?
I'm not a wedding guy. Honestly,
Mathis dance.
I don't. Yeah. Would it surprise you to say I do not dance? I do not go on the dance floor. I'll slow dance because that's not really dancing. That's just moving in a circle.
We all know that Mathis's dance skill came from Bloodlines, right?
Absolutely. We've all seen me just kind of like
over there gaining his humanity back.
Yeah, out there. Yeah, just trying to gain my humanity back. Last week was crazy in this show. I'm excited to be jumping into this week. But as always, since it's the last few episodes, why don't we get an Ava style recap as to what happened, though relatively spoiler free, as Maggie has no idea what happened last week whatsoever.
They want to tell me in game in character. Apparently it's that spicy that I need to know in character.
Yeah.
I will share some details, but I will say the biggest points of last episode are major spoilers. So therefore,
okay,
I cannot.
Even better. What kind of recap are we getting?
You play Ava Heloise. You can skirt around the truth.
Yes. What I will say is so where we ended with the episode prior was we had captured a couple of these people who attacked Elysium. So we started our last episode with the Sienna. And I put that in air quotes for a reason. We started with Sienna, and then also Ollie had this other guy, Stump, yes, who was basically, ripped his arms and legs off. So we brought them back to the theater to question at least Sienna, because for all intents and purposes, I was convinced it could have been Sienna and had no reason to think otherwise. Well, had maybe 1 or 2 reasons to think it might not be Sienna.
I love that you saw Sienna and your relationship is so fucked with her. You're like, could be her, actually. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me.
Look, I don't trust anybody in the world of darkness. She could have had
then I've done my job.
An agenda from day one. Exactly. So we woke up Sienna and began questioning her. Dakota tried to kind of get through her, and she was not talking. And she used a discipline on Dakota that kind of confirmed that it was not a Toreador. She used something that was very un-Toreador-like, and that's where we got a little more aggressive with the questioning, and they eventually revealed that they are not Sienna. They are a potentially Zimitzi, which I drank from, and now I have unlocked Zimitzi disciplines if I really wanted to.
Definitely used a man's voice, which was the clarity that we needed. Secondly, can we not just we should point out the fact that Tracy just said un-Toreador-like in a way that was like, it was so unladylike.
It was very un-Toreador-like. Yeah, no presence, no awe.
Very unbecoming of a rose.
Yeah, exactly. It was. They used something that made Dakota feel pain. You're muted.
Feel their pain.
Their pain. Particularly,
yes.
Which assured there could be no torture.
Extreme.
Yes.
Torture. Yeah. This is a way to stop you from doing the worst.
So we tried to get an idea of who they were and like what they were. Not just the Zimichi, but also the one the stump that Ollie had. And I used my camera to get some additional details that the Zimichi had like 16 faces and potentially even more. And the other one had something with them, probably a Malkavian. And so we also have the dagger that was brought. So after we did the questioning and we questioned them, blah, Rhonda came by and dropped off a gift to us the gift of the dagger, to which we don't know how the dagger was acquired. We don't know what exactly happened, but we know it was delivered to us by the Harpy, which was great. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do with this dagger? This is important. We hid it in a tile, like I know floor, not a floorboard, but a wall board in the theater. So it's hidden in there, and nobody except the three of us know where that dagger is right now. I went back to the Ivory Tower. The Ivory Tower was in chaos. There was lots of people and security, and Damien was there. The Toreador were there. I talked to Kathy. Rattail was there. Another Nos with a hoodie that I'll later figured out was Wanika was there. We learned that Sienna is potentially locked up in a Sabbat club called the Iron Lung. That's like north, I think. And then we went back to the boat, had some discussions about things. And then we returned from the boat. And we ended back at the bar with a couple of guests at the bar joining us, one of which Dakota desperately has been wanting to talk to, Rudy, and Critias, then also who we've been wanting to talk to.
Nope.
Or not Critias. Why did I write Dakota? Oh no, Dakota wants Rudy and Critias together. No, Becket. Oh my God, Becket. Sorry, wrong.
Becket walked through the door.
Not Critias, yeah. Yes, and whom Becket basically confirmed that Rudy's Montano, I think, because he called him Montano at the end. So
because Becket walked in first. Becket walked in first.
Yeah, and then called in Montano, Rudy, and that is where we left off.
Intriguing. Yep. So our assumptions may be right.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, Maggie, I got to read what you sent me. Hang on, I should have been doing that the whole time.
It's okay.
Mathis was enamored with the recap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Maggie. As to what, so immediately following Elysium, you would have gotten into a conversation with a particular Ventru.
Yeah, we can
probably
play
just
that
talking
out
about it. Yeah.
Wherever you want.
Yeah.
In this.
We can worry about that. We got to pick up, but it'll be
you can pick up where you left off with them first.
Yeah. You probably met with him. I put it in the Discord. You probably met with him, had a brief conversation, assured certain deals were still going to happen.
Okay.
And then left.
That'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Then without further ado, let's set the scene, rein things in, and return to the Lights Out pub. See what our coteries up to, and make sure you all refill your willpower, please.
Oh, I use so much. Yeah.
Yeah, this is I've gotten better at remembering.
Oh yeah, I'm not very hungry.
That's good.
Yeah, it is.
Same.
As our camera fades in from black, it's right behind the bar, getting a nice profile shot of the room itself. Where on our right-hand side, we see our coterie. And on the left, we see Becket, and about 1.5 to 2 feet behind him at the entrance of the Lights Out pub is Rudy, or as Becket called him, Montano. There's probably a beat of silence between everybody before Becket would gesture kind of just politely at the large table you have, which is your booth over in the back corner with the curtain. He goes, "Shall we? Perhaps sit down for this conversation."
Oh, y'all have impeccable timing. I'm A-line for the booth. Just
Dakota's already on her way over, and she scoots in, followed by, I imagine, Ava and Ollie.
Oh boy.
Becket would walk over and would grab the edge of the seat, having one leg under the table while the other kind of hangs over the edge toward the floor. And Rudy would walk over and stay about 1 foot away, but he would remain standing. There's no look of fear or concern on Rudy's face. It's stoicism as you are used to. And he simply is standing there as though waiting for a command or inquiry. But as you all sat down, Emmy, you would probably walk in at this point as well. And we will flash back to that conversation in a little bit. However, as you walk in, you would probably walk in the back door, front door. Emmy usually walks in the back door, right? Toward the kitchen. the Lights Out pub?
It depends. I've walked through the front door most of the time, I feel like.
Oh, that's fair. So as you would be it's just before open, and as you walk through the front door, you would actually see the entire coterie sitting over by the table. You would see Rudy, and you would see and recognize Becket. Not that you're friends with him, not that you've had communication with him, but he is a name that has been around for as long as you have. He is what's known as, and for Emmy would know this certainly, a nodist. And within kindred society, a nodist is an archaeologist, a historian of sorts, the ones who travel around the world looking for truth among rumor, or perhaps rumor to at least, for instance, Cain. Cain is an excellent example of a rumor that has become fact, that has become rumor again. And Becket has been wandering the world for, again, as long as you have been around. You've heard of him.
Interesting.
I doubt you've met him personally, perhaps more than maybe at an Elysium in passing. But here he is with the loud ones.
Was that Becket or?
Becket.
Becket.
Yep. Are you familiar with Becket out of game, Maggie?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. I think that when she sees that an even bigger grin on her face, like I'm sure she's smiling as she's coming in there. I don't know what the conversation is before this, so I don't know what emotions I'm in. But I'm hoping that it's going to be strong, happy.
Your emotions will be happy. Nothing.
My current situation,
Yep.
whatever emotions I'm in, are a little insane.
Yep. Your conversation with that individual was a very good one.
Okay. Her eyes kind of light up, and she gets a little smirk on her face for those who are paying close attention or have high perceptions. And she just skips her way over to where you guys are at.
And you would scoot up into the booth as well. Would anybody in the... make me a wits awareness, Emmy.
Ooh, wits awareness. I'm good at that one.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I won't add additional stuff to it.
Holy fuck.
Ooh, lordy.
I don't think I need to add additional
Not
stuff.
only did you roll incredibly well, first thing you notice is Ollie is not wearing his mask. His entire face is being bore out, his jawline with all the fangs that run up to the tips of his cheekbones. But moreover, as you kind of approach, you actually realize Ollie looks a little bit more pale than usual.
Interesting.
He'll scoot into the booth, and as he does so, and Becket kind of regards everybody.
Question about our hunger, too. Have we eaten?
What are you at for hunger right now? 3? If you
3.
wanted to eat on the way over, you could have. I would have had no issues with that if you want to. And for the sake of just moving things along, I'm not going to make you make a hunting roll. You could just take 2 points of hunger.
I have a herd 3, so.
Oh, even better. You can just feed off your herd then. All right. Yeah. Would anybody, as Becket turns to kind of regard everybody, would anybody kind of punctuate the silence, or would silence linger?
Oh, I mean, would say something as soon as she gets into the booth.
Yeah, so no one else into the booth. Yeah.
Yeah. I would feel
Emily squeezes in and is like,
well, it seems we've got some interesting guests. That means there's going to be some interesting conversation. Also, Ollie, you don't look so great today.
Feel just fine.
Don't look so fine.
Yes. I don't know if everybody's had the opportunity to meet the Emmy, would-be child queen.
Emmy extends her hand as soon as you say that.
Becket would reach out and she's like, I believe I've...
Hey, gang. It looks like
Oh, no.
for some reason they say Twitch has frozen.
Okay.
I don't. Let's wait. We only missed, if any.
That's all right.
Okay.
We'll rewind.
Okay, it says, everybody says we're back. I don't know what that was about. I don't know why. It looked fine on my end, but we are solid green now. So, why don't we take it back to what you were saying, Mathis, from the top?
Yeah. He simply says that, we'll start with the line where he goes, Chicago has certainly been more lively recently. He looks around and, how it will go, which direction the fire will follow, I don't know. I'm here simply to observe and to record, so that it's not forgotten amongst future generations of kindred.
Great. We'll have somebody writing it for the history books. For when what's to come is to come. Just make sure you write the loud ones down. As that was a joke. That was a joke.
That's the silence probably around the entire table.
Okay, well, Ava's like, God, these old kindred are way too boring. So Rudy is here. I look,
You look over to Rudy, or do you look over to the code?
or should I say Montano?
The silence sits.
I think Dakota is just all eyes on Rudy, which is really hard because Beckett's in the booth. But like Dakota's told Becket her piece regarding Sybil. That happened the last time he visited town. Now a lot's happened since then, but I have been looking for this man.
I guess I'll just break the ice and ask why, Rudy, has this has been you the whole time. You are an ancient kindred. And of course, we knew you were old, but the Montano himself, that here in Chicago, I guess just why? Why?
I knew it.
Why? What?
Why did you not tell us sooner?
Who put you in danger? A fledgling mistake.
Yeah, but we figured it out anyways.
And you did so in a way that kept you safe, as opposed to jumping the end. Tell me, 15 years ago, had you known the truth, you think you'd be alive now?
15 years ago, I wasn't actually too worried about being alive. Things were just a little easier.
And hardship builds strength.
Whatever you say, Montano. All I need is just a small bit of your time to take a meeting.
Also, last time we talked, it kind of seemed like maybe something was following you, calling to you. That's still happening.
The blood can be powerful, but I'm okay at the moment.
So why are you here, Rudy?
Becket chimes in. Didn't you not want to speak with him?
Of course I did, and super duper grateful. Very grateful. Very grateful. But the real question is, are you gonna come up off any new information? Are you gonna tell us anything that's going to change our likelihood of survival?
He simply kind of like looks and shakes his head subtly. What do you want to know?
I want to know where you stand with Sybil.
I wish that she... No, if you kept going.
Oh, yeah. I want to know why you've hidden out for so long. I want to know if it's all because of the call, and if it is, I might have something to help you out with that. That being said, you have a lot more questions than answers, Rudy.
I wish my sire to be dust.
Your sire, so I'm just thinking to the lineage of the La Sombra. Is your sire also the antediluvian?
He shakes his head. No.
Is Sybil your sire?
Oh, no, he nods his head rather. Yes.
So you are like a sibling in some ways of Sybil.
Okay, so you want your sire dead. Are you fully aware that he's is the Abyss?
There's a he actually doesn't really respond.
Okay, cool. I'll take your silence as a no until you tell us otherwise. Yeah, your sire may not be able to be dusted. Because the fact of the matter is your sire is something so much bigger than that. Your sister, Sybil, would very much like to free him, shove him in a body, and stake him herself. So are you or are you not against Sybil?
He, perhaps even to your dismay, there's a few beats of silence where he says, and before he is able, before he breaks it, my sister and I have similar goals.
Oh,
She simply wishes to reach further than finding peace.
so is this like a race to see which kid kills dad?
She wishes to usurp him. I just want him gone.
AKA Rudy or Montano doesn't want to bring upon eternal night upon this city.
Yes, that's what you're picking up pretty much.
That is an admirable goal. I think we can work together on this, Rudy, because we can help you and your sire. We just need to get Sybil out of the way. Actually, I don't know if we can do that because your sire is not, it could potentially not even be corporeal.
You said she
Your
Just
sire
watching
might just
back
be a
and forth.
concept.
You said he wants to usurp her, or she wants to usurp him. How does she plan to do that?
The whole plan, the whole thing with her saying, remember she told me
So
I could be
she's
her
just gonna
queen?
be the oldest one, and then what? Rule eternal night?
Yes. She offered me her to be on the throne with her. Remember?
And she probably wasn't going to share it anyway.
And I actually believed her. She probably would have given that to me if I continued with her plan.
So
More like she'd probably use you and you wouldn't really exist.
that's probably true. So what are you waiting for, Rudy? You just hanging around to see how it ends? To wait for the prime opportunity to stab sister?
He just simply shakes his head. Those that I speak with are beyond your reach.
Yes.
Tell me, do you have a direct communication or even some form of communication with those that sit above the prince?
Sit above.
He looks to Ava almost like exactly. Like when she's like, who sits above the prince?
Well, I've only heard of a couple. And currently Chicago is without a prince.
Yeah.
Should Chicago fall to hell, Justicars will be here to clean it up.
Fuck.
Yeah, no thanks.
The council is ensured that Chicago will be purged if needed.
Fuck. Okay. So you're friends with some Justicars is what I'm hearing, right?
He doesn't shake his head or nod his head.
I'll again take your silence into interpretation. So yes, so you're just gonna be here to wait to sound the call?
There's a moment when this conversation is done, I depart.
Depart.
Conversations are not done. They have been going weeks and will continue to.
Conversations.
Depart. For where?
Oh.
To speak with those who would dispense justice through the Justicars.
Okay. So let's just, but between all of us in this here booth, okay? We don't want her to turn it to Eternal Night. I really don't want Justicars showing up in this city. What do you want, Rudy? Other than to get vengeance on your daddy?
It's he shakes his again, he kind of just subtly shakes his head. There's no more to it. Remove him. Ensure the safety of Kindred moving forward and prevent or revert or deal with whatever flows through a crack that she is intending to open.
Can you, or can you not, help us with Sybil?
I am, by discussing things with the council.
So your plan is to bring in some Justicars to help us stop this from happening.
You do not understand the brutal attention my sire will bring should the worst happen. And I cannot guarantee that no matter my efforts in the city personally, that I will be able to stop it either. But I can guarantee that should it fail, it's cleaned. I play for the guarantee, not for the gamble.
So basically, there's nothing you can do to help us until after it's all gone down.
Perhaps I could spur them to move into action sooner, send a Justicar earlier. But politics within the Camarilla are politics. A pain in the ass, but necessary.
Okay, I'd like to keep the Justicar out of it because, you know, they're kind of a clean slate vibe I get, which means anything or anyone connected to Sybil is also fair game. So that's like a plan B. We're gonna just hold on that idea.
Yeah. We didn't work our asses off for the last 10 years for some Justicar to come in and try to clean slate everything. So I agree.
So we're interested in stopping it before it happens, regardless of if you think it's some pie in the sky dream. We're actually out here fucking doing it.
And there's a genuine acknowledgement of that. He nods.
So,
I am not saying you're not making an effort, and a good one at that. But if I cannot guarantee success, why would I play to that? My sister does not know what she is doing.
see, that's helpful.
She takes a moment.
That's really helpful. What do you mean by that? What do you mean she doesn't know?
She was abandoned by her sire. She doesn't understand what it is like to stare into the abyss.
And you do.
By force. For a very long time. It's why I stepped away from her. I gave up my birth name of Ontai and became Montano.
Okay, chosen name, that's super cool. Respect
They
that.
chose it for me. I accepted what they called me.
I will call you whatever you want to be called. Rudy. What I'm saying is, I would like to ask something of you. As a kindred that has stayed out of your way for almost 2 decades, I have someone that wants to meet with you.
He lets you continue. He looks at you expectantly.
Based on the fact he's been looking for you for a while, I assume you're probably avoiding him.
Oh, when you say that, precious.
If
I have nothing against the old man, but he serves me no benefit at the moment.
What if this isn't just about you, Rudy?
What is it that Cretius seeing me will do for you, for him?
I don't know. It was a request. He helped
Becket
me.
you just see Becket kind of, as his face kind of goes back and forth. This is just a gentle smirk on his face as you see him pull out his notebook and just starts jotting some things down.
So, I did the hard work, and Emmy here helped me sift through some books, and we figured out your story, and as inspiring and all of that. He confided in me that he's been unable to catch your ear for quite a while.
I have been out of the city. He would have said, I have been out of the city and I did not inform anyone.
That's your prerogative. But you're back now. Shit's about to hit the fucking fan, dude. So, you know what? What is 15 minutes of your time in a room with Cretius?
You see his jaw maybe tighten a little bit before relenting. I will see him before the night is over. I will let him know that you sent me this rain.
Just, you know what? Be nice. And you know what? If he's not nice, if you survive the other side of it, you can come back to me and we'll have a discussion about my fuck up.
He shakes that. Now is not the time for petty grievances. Time is valuable. Nothing more.
That's all this is.
Thank you.
That's all this has been.
Thank
Is
you.
petty grievances.
Oh, I don't
You
know.
have the gall
he
to
nods.
sit here in front of me and discuss about how you sat in the fucking darkness and you've watched because you were left alone, don't you think that you are just perpetuating the cycle, you son of a bitch?
Sins
Look
of
at
the
us.
Father. He nods and he goes, sins of the father I wish to end by bringing in the Justicars.
Oh, so you want to hire a separate janitorial crew to clean up your mess?
He nods. If the mess is too big to clean, am I merely to sit there and wallow in it?
What if we had a way that we could clean it up?
He looks, he kind of gestures, he regards you, Emmy, and he goes, that is what you've been doing.
It's much bigger than that, though. See, there's a whole ritual involved, and maybe you could assist us with that.
Yes, Emmy's right. We are planning to perform a ritual, which I will spare the details right now. But what better to have Montano by our side when we confront Sybil? You are of the
Also,
same
there's
age.
a whole other thing that we need to do in another place. We could probably use your assistance with.
He, if I can return to the city by the end of my
Madison?
dealings with the council, then I don't see how I could not help.
So you're set on this whole going to the Justicar, going to the big gun Camarilla? You're really set on doing this.
I could sit back and hope God himself intervenes and stops his own curse.
Cain
I doubt
himself?
that.
Hey, Becket. You've written
Becket looks over.
a lot in your time. You've had a lot of stories up there in that little noggin of yours, yeah? How many times
he
have
gently
you
closes his book and gives his full attention to you, Dakota.
How many times have you written about Justicar coming into a city and any kindred lived?
There are a few where some kindred have survived, yes, but most of the time, not many, depending on the severity of the law being broken. It is not a perfect answer, but our existence is far from perfect itself.
It's all right. You made my point.
He just sits back and like he seems to let the conversation continue as though you were
I
done
got
with.
a lot of kindred in this town, Rudy, I care about. Regardless of if you do or not. I'm just asking you to take those petty grievances that Holly so brilliantly pointed out and just put them to the side for a second and help us get ahead of the problem.
If I can,
Great.
I will.
You
But
can.
what can I do?
Well,
now?
buckle up, baby. We've located Vitel. Her little hollow
Child.
He is being held in a town a few miles over. We are planning an attack, potentially alongside some hunters. It's a much bigger problem. But the fact of the matter is, Vitel can't walk out of there. He's a key piece to whatever she's attempting to do. He is the door, and she had a key, one that we have acquired. And I kind of look at Emmy, letting her know for the first time, like, the dagger has been acquired.
I mean, we'll take that implication.
We're slowly picking away at her little puzzle so she doesn't have all the pieces. But we could really use your help against Vitel. We don't know anything about him other than the fact that she's been ripping him out and filling him up with something else. But if we're right about any of our intel, he may be too strong for us. Thus, the hunters.
He almost looks like you kind of just waits to see if you're about to ask him a question. Like, he almost looks
We
confused.
need your help. Show the fuck up. Use some of those really big boy powers you have. Let's take Vitel off the map. It will assure she goes into panic mode and she will make a mistake. Ahead of the problem, Rudy. Ahead of it.
Don't stop her, you know.
I didn't say stop her.
It'll make a panic, maybe a strong word, but it'll get sloppy. She'll still attempt to rip open the tear. It'll
See, we have another solution for that.
He just looks over to you, Emmy.
I mean, looks to Ava, because Ava started talking about him.
Yes, this is a step of many steps. This isn't We're not expecting Sybil to be defeated after we take out Vitel. Our final part of the plan is the ritual. And getting rid of Vitel will help weaken and, yes, make things easier for us during that stage. And we could use your help, your allyship.
So you wish me to arrive and fight him?
I mean, that would be nice, but
No, I wouldn't expect you to lift a finger.
If you've got a better way, or maybe you want to send your Justicar after all empty Vitel so we don't fucking have to, and they can take some hunters out. Hey, that'd be dope.
He is kind of just almost cuts you off, but not quite. Like just picking up immediately after. What do you think I have been doing? I have been attempting to get the Justicars here sooner, faster, but they refuse to move until evidence of my claim is more feasible. And unfortunately for the entirety of the city of Chicago, that evidence will be the ritual done sloppily or not. And I am trying to prevent the death of hundreds of kindreds the best way I know how, a guarantee.
So talking to the Justicar is a guarantee. It's a guarantee that we're all probably gonna die.
Yeah, and you will survive.
He shakes his head. I cannot even guarantee that I will survive. Their judgment. I am of the bloodline.
You
They may not
realize
trust me.
Justicar, you can't even guarantee your own survival. They're definitely going to kill the rest of us.
He shakes his head. If that's what's going to stop him, then I accept that cost.
Well, I don't.
Okay.
And I would suggest you leave the city.
So that's your solution? We're coming to you with multiple options
I'm
for
telling
an
you,
actual solution. And
I'm
you
tell-
are saying, leave or die.
I'm saying that you can stay and gamble or guarantee your survival and run. I'm not saying you do one or the other.
It's a weak answer.
He shrugs his
very-
shoulders.
That's very Nosferatu of you.
And he shrugs
That's
his shoulders.
rich, coming from someone who's supposed to be your friend. Snitch, by the way, he fell. I watched him fall. You owe this city a great debt.
You see him nod, almost expectantly, I've heard.
Okay.
When you lived as long as I have, you come to expect those you know to die at some point if you haven't.
Well, Emmy made a really good point, which is that we've told you multiple ways we could use your help. And if all you can offer us are a bunch of Justicar, then I guess we'll accept that when it happens. But if you'll take the meeting with Gracious, I've got something I think you would very much like to get your hands on.
I've already agreed to.
It's a cherry on the ice cream, olive branch.
Are you? Do you reach for something, or are you?
Come by my
Just leaving
boat
it. Mm.
once you've met with Gracious, and I will give it to you. No strings attached.
He just nods, but nothing more. And if he looks back to Ollie, do you have a guarantee or a better way of handling things? I'm all ears.
Rudy, all we've done is gamble. That's
I
all
know.
we've done the last 30 years. And your gamble right now is to play up this chain of command in hopes that they'll come down and wreak havoc on your problems. But we're playing otherworldly, way outside of our fucking depths. We're drinking blood that makes us spit moths. I walked in the sunlight. I talked to a concept. I fought a door stronger than any kindred I've ever even seen. A door, Rudy.
You see Becket immediately flip open his notebook and he just starts writing things down.
Yeah, take that down.
but Rudy looks over. It looks genuinely a bit confused. I don't know what you're talking about.
Madison, where it's all going down. It's a place between places.
The veil is thin there. I'm aware.
It's more than just that. It's not a space to that dark place. It's a space to, what did Nelson call it? The hedge. The hedge. Where the wolves are made of sticks and the moths can come together to form eyes and speak to us in a different place. We've walked there. We've walked there. I talked to a light. I drank water that had more flavor than anything from when I was alive. Water that we walked on. And you want to talk about running it up the chain of command in hopes that the janitorial committee will see forth your recommendation and come through and clean. Nobody's doing anything but us. We're soldiers in another man's game, in another woman's plea, and what have you. And frankly, I'm tired. I shouldn't be tired. I don't hurt when I get hurt. I don't hunger. I don't thirst. I don't yearn for sex. I don't yearn for anything other than just to wake up not feeling this burden and stress. We're really alone. And if you want to talk about someone is perpetuating this cycle of father's sins, we can go all the way back to when I was fucking 6 years old. When you showed me that proof in the sewers, that cake that somehow hadn't aged. Then you plucked me again from my life. When I was 26, 27, 30, I don't remember anymore. And then you proceeded to have that Nosferatu pretend to be my side, beat the shit out of me until you came to my rescue. Over and over again. But this is probably something circular to your nature. It's the nature of, I guess, being a Lasombra.
The alternative was to let you continue being a pawn in her game. So I removed you. It was inelegant, abusive, traumatic. But you're your own man, and not hers. And for that, I may not forgive myself, but I would do it again.
I'm a problem, Rudy.
I know.
And the problem is something you're going to have to answer for.
And should we both stand at the end of all this, I will answer for all. Even if it means walking into the sun. I'll do it with a smile on my face and find the peace I've been longing for, that you now are only starting to understand the burden of, by being what we fucking are. You will always be lonely. All the people you love in your mortal life will die. And you will be here. Your coterie will eventually split. Someone will die, and you will lose them. Or you will die, and they will lose you. There is no other alternative. You do not get to go back. You're not human anymore, and you never will be.
Yeah, perhaps you forgot what it was like to live then.
He takes a moment. Perhaps
because I didn't forget it.
And if you make it thousands of years, you will too.
I'm not alone. I know you think it. I know you think that in 1,000 years I'll be alone. But the one thing that sets me apart from every other kindred, well, honestly, that I've met is that I'm really good at making friends.
Then why do you say you're alone?
No, I don't think I'm alone. I think I'm manipulated. I think the person that wanted to pretend to be my father for so long was the one doing the mass manipulation. And I just played into your game. You had me feel bad for myself. Then I felt bad for my mother, my father, and then I felt bad for my coterie for picking up after my messes. When you literally could have just said anything. You made you into a stronger man, Oliver Hopkins. They gave me this name. They gave me a name too. But you didn't clear that shit up. I used to go by Babyface. Now they call me the Butcher. But that was all orchestrated, again, by you.
Where you stand now.
Stand right now is courtesy of your own.
He nods. Agreed.
You're just dirty, Rudy. Nothing is ever clean. Nothing is ever cut and dry. And honesty, I think fucking hurts you. I think it hurts you. And for the first time, I'm seeing it clearly. My vision is no longer clouded by emotions. Am I hurt? Sure. Will I get over it? Yeah. because I came to terms with it. But I'm not alone. I got people who care about me. And in 10 years, if they're not there, there will be other people that care about me. Because these relationships, they're not one-sided. We leech from each other in so many ways. It's an interesting term considering we're kindred, but we willingly help each other out. Because it's consent. And that's something the three of us would never offered in the beginning. We didn't get a choice. We were left. At least I got to know my sire. Dakota didn't. That's so fucked up. I got to know a sire that brought me into this place but continued to beat the shit out of me like I was the stepchild, but then you were there to look like the superhero. And let's not even get it started with Ava. The constant manipulation of the rose garden, then she had to eat like her own friend. She had to eat her. And you weren't there to help clean up that mess either, but this is all a part of your orchestration. I get it. Sybil was playing her part. Am I wrong, guys? Am I wrong here?
No.
Emmy shakes her head.
Rudy, this is a chance in your centuries of unliving to make a difference for your clan.
It's not just you either. When you see Cretius tonight, goad him into movement. He's old as fuck just like you. You guys have comic book levels of powers and you're just sitting on it. Because it's what you do when you're old. This isn't fucking medieval times anymore. You don't have to run it up the chain of command. You don't have to ask the king or the duke or the baron.
Oliver, and I say this understanding that you're speaking in the moment, but we too have a beast. And should that slip and lose control, the damage you've seen done will be nothing compared to the damage someone of my age could do. I play the game to keep limitations on risking that. I do not wish to destroy Chicago in an anger frenzy where nothing matters but could cleanse those who knew Sybil. I want to act of my own mind. And yes, I could stand toe-to-toe with... there's a moment where you Vitel. But it risks losing myself. Then what?
But you already said there's a potential that you won't even survive anyway.
And should I come close to death and the beast wishes one last hurrah, what then? Can you stop me? What if I haven't finished killing Vitel? Now you have to deal with them and me.
Is that what the Justicars are for?
He nods. They are particularly and specially for this. And I'm trying to get them here sooner.
All right, Rudy. I'm going to take you for your words, but just remind you of a little thing. You don't think it's worth the gamble, but yet you say that stopping your sire is the thing you want the most. Then it should be worth the gamble. But that being said, I'm going to write down here on this little napkin a couple locations that in case your Justicar decide that they want to show up early, they might want to check out. This one's located underneath a train bus station in Madison. This is a cabin. Good luck finding it. I will give you a generalized location, but it tends to move. On the regular, Vitel is moved nightly from the bottom of this train station to this location to do whatever he needs to do. He is escorted there because, of course, he's basically a hollow piece of shit and can't get himself there. We have a generalized idea of where Sybil's body is being kept. We know that it was moved from Chinatown about 10 years ago. She's not going to be much good if she can't get back in her fucking body. And just in case you need extra special protection, there's a decrepit hospital at this location here. We've taken...
You can't go into it.
That's right. Anything you might actually care about that's not yourself could seek refuge here.
It has specific protections from La Sombra.
Yeah,
Or at the very
that
least,
that would prevent him for sure.
at the very
Yeah.
least, the shadow.
That being said, if you're really interested in maybe just a little something that might help you out in your desperate time of being an old kindred who's fighting with his inner demons, come see me after you speak to Cretius.
He
And-
takes it in and then he nods.
If either of you, Becket, if you need a guide, it'll take a couple of hours, but I can make it to Madison below ground.
You hear Becket. Yes, the labyrinth.
Yes, its previous keeper, God rest his soul, recently ashed. And to best mirror Ava and Dakota's words, the labyrinth chose me.
Becket just says, fascinating. I'll take you up on that offer, whether Montano agrees or not. Perhaps not tonight, but soon. Could be enlightening. At the very least, educational and entertaining.
I am going to step out for fresh air because I'm getting this itch to break something.
Montano simply then, when you say that, is like, I'm going to leave then and speak with Cretius now.
Fantastic. Becket, if you were looking for some decent company, the gang will meet in a few nights' time in the train yard. Maybe you can put your books down long enough to be part of your clan.
He does give like a very like breathy chuckle at that, and he smiles as he kind of stands up and straightens out his coat. I take you up on that offer. I do find the company of my clan something I don't indulge in enough.
They would very much appreciate your company. I think you'd be surprised with how many gangrel now roam the streets of Chicago.
Oh, I've heard you've done quite a bit of work. The Loud Ones have made their own stamp on the city in such a short time. It's impressive.
They have done the work. The gangrel.
Oh, he nods. Oh, no, I understand, but in a broader sense. Dakota with the gangrel, Ollie obviously with as he gestures to his bar, and Ava with her standing amongst the Toreador and the close bonds she has to Sybil herself, and then looking to Emmy, and an exiled Ventru allowed within the realm of the Camarilla. You all have made a hell of a stamp on the city. Chicago will and would never be what it is without you any longer.
You're right.
You've shaped it forever.
Well, I guess you can say there is one thing that the Loud Ones are known for. Taking the gamble.
Becket grins, and he actually, as he's going to put his book away, pulls it back open, and he goes, I agree. And he writes, he seems to quickly jot something
He's writing
down.
that one down.
And he just slides it into his inner pocket. I very much look forward to speaking with you all soon, but as of now, I'm actually going to accompany Montano to Cretius. I haven't seen that old pain in the ass in a long time.
Well, be polite, because some things never change.
He chuckles. Well, he's certainly never polite. And he walks. After you, Montano. And Montano just nods and begins to leave. And Montano's the first to leave. Becket takes a moment as he's about to walk out the door and just looks around. I miss quaint bars like this. And then he just walks out the front door.
Dear God, remind me when we get old to never turn into such assholes.
Crusty ass old kindred are truly a blight.
No offense, Emmy. At least you've kept some of your jovialness.
Yes, thankfully you're not quite as old, but
No, not quite.
Ollie, I am truly sorry that is the
I
piece
don't
of
even
garbage.
think if I get that old, I'll ever be like that.
Yeah, no doubt. I hate that that's the person that sired you into this world, or at least kind of sired you into this world. I'm sorry. Truly.
I don't know if anything we said actually meant anything, made any difference to his own convictions.
Well, we know we're not going to get his help. At least not until the end, when he can white knight his way through like he does everything. And I'm going to be honest, The word Justicar puts a little bit of fear in me, and that's not something I sit very well with. Dakota doesn't. I don't do fear.
I agree.
Especially after last night's festivities.
Jackson certainly won't be able to rule a city that's been wiped clean. Not that his intentions are quite something we're thinking about at this point, but
you're aware that he's dedicated
Yep.
help, and he said he would continue to do so after everything, and there's no reason for him not to.
yes.
Honestly, there's a part of me that believes we should tell Jackson Justicars are being brought into this.
I think Jackson banked on it.
Well, he's real fucking guilty right now for a variety of reasons. Oh, if you didn't know, Emmy, all fingers kind of point back to Jackson for the addition of the Sabbat.
I think it only
Though we
points
can't
from us.
prove it.
Interesting. What gives you that?
Oh,
The
my
clear
God.
math, but it's only clear math to us. Remember, we helped seed him.
He wanted the added chaos to the Elysium.
For what it's worth, even if we attempt to bring this to the suspicion of a Justicar, we are just as guilty because we arranged an attack on Elysium.
Technically, we did not arrange it. We were just there, technically, when it went down.
Yeah, well, for our sake, I just hope that the Justicar that comes through isn't one of the Tremere Justicar who can force the truth out of us.
Well, the good news is, I've never been anything but truthful. So, might as well not change now.
He
They
was
wanna know?
nervously sweating in the corner.
So if a Justicar comes through, I think I will take cover.
Think we will probably have to leave as quickly as possible. Leave the city. Leave Chicago.
Well, at least I have a place where we can go.
I'm
Where would
not-
that be?
Gary, of course.
Fuck that. I'd rather die in Chicago.
Yeah, let's go to Gary.
That's like,
The
yeah.
the next storyline is
The
Gary.
next
I mean-
storyline is Gary.
We're going to Gary.
No.
All roads lead to Gary for some reason.
Okay, look, no matter what,
Well,
whether
you
we
say
win,
no, but I'm just letting you know. I have a lot of power over there compared to here.
I'm not leaving Chicago. When I signed
Let's
up for
hope you
all
don't
of
have
this,
to leave Chicago, but if he's gonna bring the Justicar here, you better leave.
I
Dakota.
won't leave.
You're
I
gonna stay
planned
and
to
die.
stay and die one way or the other. That's the gamble.
Well, I'm not willing to gamble that.
That's okay. But I'm not leaving everything we fucking worked for.
But you will be. You realize that. You could take everything you've worked for and move it somewhere else.
Chicago's my home.
Anywhere you go with the people that you love, that's home, Dakota.
I was always told that because I grew up on the move. For the first time ever, I have a real home, a place I don't have to fucking leave. And I'm not gonna do it now. And if I gotta do it at the hands of a Justicar, fine. If I'm dying at the hands of Sybil, fine. But I plan to die from the beginning, one way or the other. And if I come out the other side, fucking brilliant. But what does it mean to the gangrel if I pack up and leave just because Justicar walk in? I'm not gonna leave looking guilty. They want to put me on trial, fine. I've been at the feet of Bella before, other people before. I've sat through Cracius's fucking classes, for Christ's sake, and been at the wrong end of every fist of a gangrel in this city to be able to just fucking stand in it. I'm not leaving.
That's your choice.
It is. And I'm definitely not running to Gary, Indiana to hide out. If my name's going down in a
Hide
book,
out.
what is it then?
Might I add, we have another place that we could go. What if there is a Justicar that comes sweeping through the city? I would suggest perhaps we could also consider the Umbra.
Fuck that.
I don't know what that is. I'll
Okay.
pass. Yeah.
Okay, well,
It was
Let's
pretty
pretend
nice.
the
I
Jessica
would be
cars
opposed to
will
going
not
there,
find you
too.
in there.
in the Umbra, we'll be in peaceful, happy heaven together. Okay,
This
you know
was
what?
pretty
Forget
cool,
it.
actually.
It was just a thought, but
Or you could walk on water.
it was a place of bliss, and
I fought a fucking door. I fought
Just-
for my life.
I love
that
how
was just-
Ollie is
Against the
hung up
door.
on fighting that door.
that was just to get in. Once we were in, it was
You
good.
didn't fight the fucking door.
I just walked in.
It's fine. I understand the wanting to die here. I was ready to die a martyr's death for this cause. So
A martyr's death. I will go out like a fucking warrior, dude. Battlefield or no. Not offering my life for some martyr status. I want to go out because I fought for something I care about. I care about this city. And it's worth that fight, at least to me.
And we're going to fight. We already have a plan. I don't know if he's gonna cooperate with our plan. It's better than his plan.
It is very much, you are absolutely right, Emmy. Just... I can't believe
Is
he
that
called the
kind of-
Justicar. What an asshole.
It's kind of his MO.
And what? He's just like, oh yeah, I got some contact with the Justicar. I've been trying to talk to. What the fuck, Rudy?
I mean, to think about what we've done in 35 years. Now imagine adding a casual 1950 years to that. Think of the contacts you make then.
Dakota and
Well,
Emmy,
think
just from
about it this
doing
way,
your
too. The more you don't have to do something and you can punt it off on somebody else, the easier it is.
and Emmy and Dakota, from reading your history about him, you also remember or would know that he was part of the formation of the camera as a whole. So like he would have those polls. Like he was one of the first ones as to make the camera a thing.
What a way to come in and flex and be like, oh, how do you want me to help you? I'm talking to the Justicar. Hair flip. What, Rudy? Fucking what? I don't know that we can even count on Rudy at this point. He's got his own plan. He's made his own fucking plan, and he's already turned in his cards. Calling the Justicar means he has zero hope we will succeed. And there is just a part of me that wants to fucking look him in the face when the Justicar show up and there's nothing to be done because we've already finished it.
well, we tried to talk what we could and convince him. And Rudy has been a stonewall since day one. That's who he is. And I guess we shouldn't expect any less.
Nope.
The last time I met him, I thought it was just because he was trying to stay away from the voices in his head. But I guess it's bigger than that. He's more of a coward than I thought.
It's a good word for him. Coward.
So what's our next steps?
Oh, I need a long ride on a skateboard, and I do technically...
Also, where have you all been? Ollie, what is going on?
What do you mean?
All of a sudden, yeah,
She
everything
just
goes
like
quiet.
points to the whole vibe going on with him.
I'm
Are
fine.
you hungry?
No. No, I've never been better.
She looks at him very suspiciously.
So is no one going to tell me what happened?
I get that it's odd I'm not wearing my mask. This is just part of being a Nosferatu.
Not that part, weirdo.
How about, where did you go after Elysium, Emmy?
Don't try to change the subject, Dakota. I know your ways.
Wait,
Are you going to tell me, or am I going to have to force it out of you?
What's
You don't-
Ava? As the camera like looks to Ava, what are we seeing? Out of
Ava
Ava's
has
face right now?
no poker face
I-
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Dakota
We hear the
doesn't lie.
conversation, but our camera is like straight up on just Ava as
Yeah.
we watch her reaction.
When
Yeah.
when Emmy says, "Am I gonna have to force it out of you?" I point up to a wall where it says something that like an average person would read and be like, "I don't even know what the fuck that means," but to a kindred, it just says "no disciplines," and he just says, "Don't make me enforce that."
I'm really scared.
Okay, I can't lie, so maybe I shouldn't be the one. We took some hostages after Elysium to gain some information, which we did successfully. And then we took a boat ride.
To where?
Middle of a lake. To have a quiet conversation about the future of the coterie.
And I wasn't involved.
You couldn't be found.
Yeah, you were kind
No
of missing.
surprise.
So what's the future involving?
It's involving a lot stronger coterie.
More
gonna-
power.
I'm gonna prep the bar
Obtained.
for more Nosferatu to show up. I'm expecting them at any point. Ollie's gonna kind of like start meandering around the bar, doing some things, particularly in the back.
The events Elysium really pushed us to take some more proactive steps in assuring that we survive this.
What are those proactive?
Well,
And how did they involve Ollie?
let's just say our hostages didn't come back from the boat.
Oh, I see.
Emmy's assuming that they got eaten.
They took a page from your book, Emmy.
Well, that's a bit strong of a statement. We
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
assured
He's
those
like-
Sabat don't get to see tomorrow.
Following in his grandmother's footsteps after all, I suppose.
Look,
No.
Oh,
I lean in a little bit. I'm like, listen, Emmy, be gentle on Ollie. He had a harder time. He came out of he found clarity on the other side, and after the events of Elysium, he's taking it upon himself to gather the Nosferatu in his more focused mindset.
Why are you saying it like that?
Because I don't. He changed. Ollie changed coming. He had a.
he's different.
If I could say it above table, Ollie lost 3 points of humanity.
Yeah, Ollie rolled really poorly and ended up losing 3 points. He's out down to humanity 4 now, lower than Ava.
Snap.
So
That's awesome.
you know, yeah.
I love that reaction,
proves.
Maggie. Thank you.
As his grandma, as somebody that has maybe seen many hundreds of years of ebbs and flows of your emotional state, maybe you could support him in a time where he's feeling a little what's the word I'm looking for? Raw. Little raw.
All right.
Right.
He didn't get taken over, right? He won.
He won,
no,
just
we-
at the cost of his sanity.
Yeah.
What are you saying to me?
He
Or his-
opted out of his
his-
mask, and that doesn't usually happen unless a witch tries to take it from him, so that's a first.
I would like it this way.
Oh, hey,
He's
me
really being
too.
true to himself versus trying to hide behind something.
I agree entirely. We've had
It feels beautiful.
Yep. So I'm gonna peace out before the Nosferatu show up because I really don't think they're gonna want a gangrel sitting in the corner booth. And with our newfound information,
Emmy points back up to the sign that Ollie just pointed to.
with our newfound information, I thought maybe the sheriff of Chicago might want to know where the Sabat are hanging out. And Emmy, maybe.
You know for sure though, Damien's gonna be very busy for the next couple nights, so getting a hold of him might be hard.
It's okay. I can still drop a line.
Oh yes, you could definitely.
And then
drop a
I
line in the
obviously have to
message.
meet Rudy at the boat tonight. Like I can't
Yep.
not come through on my promise. But
Yep.
Ava, since you're so much fucking better with words, maybe you can help Emmy get caught up on the last 24 hours and take her to go have a slice of cheesecake, and maybe she can check out the new cheesecake knife we acquired.
Emmy grins.
Yes.
You
I
hear
s-
kind of awkwardly from the back kitchen. Are we opening tonight, or should I just stop cooking and prepping?
I don't know. I'm not your boss, dude.
Listen, I'm asking the general crowd out there. I'm in the back. Prep's done. Am I supposed to get going? Ollie, boss. Hey, buddy. Are we opening tonight?
If you want to open. You're the manager. Figure it out.
We got people, but you say you're prepping for like, okay. He looks over to Ava like you got an answer for me because
Fuck. You're the manager.
Yep, that's right. I'm not gonna open until whatever is happening here is done.
And then, while you and Emmy have a little time, maybe Emmy can tell you all about where she's been over the last 24 hours.
Yes.
Because she looks real happy, and it makes me nervous.
Does it make you nervous? I'm always happy.
Euphoric, definitely. Happy, you know what? Semantics. I'm gonna go, and, Ava, use your emotional maturity to sort the situation, okay? Bye.
What do we see Ava do?
I'm going to take Emmy for a stroll.
Okay. And as you kind of take her out for a stroll, and Ollie is kind of making the finishing touches. Ollie, or should I say, we're going to fade to black, and when we return, we're going to open up with what Emmy was doing with her meeting prior to her coming here, and then the Nosferatu arrive and all that other good stuff. So go grab a drink, refill your drinks, all that good stuff. We'll be back in a moment. back from break, everybody. We're going to jump right back into it, if you don't mind. So we're going to flash back a little bit here.
I mean, they might want to hear what we were talking about before, but
Maybe if you go to the Patreon and jump onto the after show tier, you can hear about what we were talking about there. Patreon.com/podbynight. Anyway, we'll pick up right. We're going to flash back a little bit to the night of Elysium, the previous night in game, where as Elysium started scattering and everything was starting to realize like security was starting to be reestablished within Elysium, our coterie split up. They all left and went back different ways. Emmy, there was a car that pulled up. Did you? I don't remember if we had that conversation. Were you there for that conversation, or was that the session you weren't? Like
that was the session I missed. Yeah.
Okay, so there would be a vehicle that would have been sent by Jackson himself to pick you up afterward. You would have made this deal earlier, having known that you were kind of working things behind the scenes with the Anarchs and so on. But it's up to you if you would take it or not. I don't know if Emmy would have another way. However, you do know you're supposed to have a post meeting with Jackson after Elysium's done, essentially, which is. Do
I trust this vehicle?
I mean, as much as you trust Jackson, I suppose. As you look at, like, if you walk up to the vehicle or look in the vehicle, there's no, like, other than the driver, there's nobody in there. If you want to try sense the unseen, you could if you have it. I don't know if you do.
I do not. I don't know. I do not have sense the unseen.
But it just looks like a vehicle that was promised. It's the same vehicle would have promised you before, with the tinted windows and no license plates, and you would be taken to a secure area where you and Jackson would have a brief debrief.
If there's nothing that calls out to me as suspicious, I will get in the vehicle.
As you step in, the driver simply gives you a nod. The door, as you shut the door and kind of scoot in, there's the gas meets the street, wheels start turning, and off you go for a bit of a 10-minute drive. Before you, where you arrive, is actually just a small 2-story apartment building with a couple of people sat out on the stairs that lead up to the front. As you walk out and are dropped off, the 3 people on the stairs look to you and almost knowingly kind of stand up and walk down the stairs and clear out of the way. You may make me a wits awareness, wits insight, either or both, if you're curious about these 3 individuals. It's kind of just a city block within Chicago in the middle of the city itself.
I'm not gonna.
You weren't blindfolded, and you could see out there. So if you wanted to come back here, you could. Just so you know, it's not like
wits
you were.
Awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spend anything extra on it.
Yeah, 5 successes and wits insight if you would like.
The other one, I'll attempt that. Why not? Ooh, not as successful. Wow, that was awful.
Well, you can't quite tell if
Can
they're.
I willpower that?
Yeah, you could. You could use a willpower.
I can willpower how many
3.
dice? 3. Yeah. Nope.
Does
not want me to see.
While you're not entirely sure if they're with the Camarilla, with Jackson, you do catch flashes of weapons on them. You see a gun tucked into a guy's back pocket, and you see a woman with 2 daggers that are kind of just sticking out, just barely underneath a belt. But they look to you briefly, and that's when they get up and they walk out of the way, and they seem to walk about halfway down the street where they post up on some more stairs and continue whatever casual conversation it seems like they were having.
Can I make assumptions here that these people might be part of that Sabat crew?
You would not likely think they're part of the Sabat crew. They're more likely Jackson's personal guard or some sort of private security.
Gotcha.
They definitely don't look like Sabat at all, the Sabat you've dealt with.
Very interesting.
If you walk up to the door of the address you were given, and try to open the door, you would realize it's unlocked. Do you push the door open or do you wait? And it's like a brick 2-story apartment building, essentially.
I'll push the door open.
As you open the door and are greeted with the first floor of rows of hallways, you actually see at the end of the hallway an individual that, without a doubt, is clearly part of Jackson's crew. He's in a well-tailored suit, standing on the outside of one of the doors that is the back right-hand door. And through the hall itself, you see 2 other people dressed in suits that are both kind of walking a little bit back and forth. Security. One would see you and simply walk up to you. Jackson's expecting you. Follow me.
She just follows. She like skips.
Yep.
Follows along.
You're walked past the actual back door, and you can actually hear some conversation happening in there. One voice you recognize certainly is Ballard's, but you're actually walked up the stairs. And
Do I hear what he's talking about?
Wits awareness.
Ooh.
Just curious. 6. Ooh.
Beautiful. As you're walking by the door, you would catch a brief bit of his conversation, and you would hear Ballard saying, "The Toreador be no problem. We've invested in them in the past few years and working closely with them. I don't expect pushback." And that's kind of all you hear as you make your way up the stairs. Brought to the first apartment on your left. That as is
Tracy
opened,
and I will be having a conversation. That's for sure.
as you brought up, this apartment is devoid of furniture. Nobody lives here. Nobody's moved in. There's no couches. There's no kitchenware other than the refrigerator and the stove that comes with the apartment itself. And there's Jackson, center of what would be the living room, with Sovereign next to him, where he's having a pretty intense conversation. And over behind him, almost waiting, you see Damien standing there, sword kind of clasped to his back, as he's watching the conversation between Jackson and Sovereign. As you approach, Jackson would see you, and as would Sovereign, and they would both nod and usher you to come over. And you would hear him say, "We'll pick up a conversation later, Mr. Sovereign. For now, I want you to accompany Damien down to the ivory tower." And he nods, and Damien just gestures, and Damien follows and leaves the room, leaving only you and Jackson with the private security on the outside. Jackson turns to you after the room is entirely empty and waits a few beats until you can hear the footsteps going down the stairs. And he says, "Well, certain unexpected events happened, but all that needed to happen did. Are you all right? And are you aware if your coterie mates all right?"
I believe everyone is all right.
Good. He turns over and walks over to the window to look out.
What was the unexpected part?
He clears his throat. The death of Bella and the attack of the Sabbat. You can wits insight me if you have, if you'd like.
Yeah, would like to. I will rouse for that one as well. Was that wits awareness you said, or
Insight?
Wits insight. Yeah.
Wits insight.
I think I get +2 to this roll, right?
It should just be the +1. Yeah.
No, arouse adds +2.
For rouse.
Oh, rousing.
I get
Yes,
+2.
yes. I forgot. Yeah. 4 successes, and you could re-roll 3 with another willpower if you'd like.
I would like to do that. Oh, it didn't push.
So a total of 5. Jackson is a master of a stoic tone. There was a brief delay in when you asked what were the unexpected events and his answer. How that is interpreted by Emmy is kind of, I will leave to you. However, there was certainly a bit of a moment where you're not sure if it was just a brief moment before answering. Jackson is typically very astute and very quick to his answers. Perhaps he truly was surprised, and he's dealing with the ramifications of the loss of Bella and those who were supposedly not supposed to be killed, or perhaps there's something more to it. I'll leave that for Emmy to interpret overall. But he would continue afterward and say, "Regardless, the loud ones stand, and those who need to be removed have been removed. The throne is open earlier than anticipated, so we'll have to make moves a little quicker than we need to, though shoring up the support of those with the most influence in the city has been going smoothly. Conversations with the Toreador particularly have started already, and they seem very eager to back the Ventru." And
Why do you
then
think
he turns
that?
back to you. "Because the previous prince was a Toreador, and bringing shame to the clan is something they can't bear. If they can bring to power one who brings stability to the city, grace may be given to the clan that almost collapsed the Camarilla within Chicago."
Interesting. It also seems that maybe your unexpected things weren't so unexpected.
He just gives you kind of like a raised eyebrow. "I don't understand what you mean."
I'm sure you don't.
He almost like dismisses that and continues. "As far as our deals, you still have our support. The Camarilla, as much as we can shore it up, and as long as transition is smooth, I don't see why we can't put a good majority of the Camarillah's efforts in the direction of the Loud One's attempt to keep Camarilla safe. As for you, Emmy, word has already been put in. They're aware of your heroic actions within Elysium, at least within the Ventru, and as that percolates through the Toreador, I imagine it won't be long before the name of Emmy is no longer one that is associated with exile, but one that is associated with a heroic action that may have saved the Camarilla itself.
That's good news.
He nods. I intend to always hold up my deals. My end of the bargain is as important as yours. As for a place on the Ventru board, you will have my support when the time for a vote comes. However, that will occur after a prince is seated. The last time Chicago didn't have a prince, it lasted far, far too long. It's that weakness that allowed Bella to rise. Never again. Is there anything you'd like to request of me?
Well, now that you're talking about requests, what is the plan?
In terms of what?
Princedom.
And how to obtain it?
Well, not for me necessarily,
Oh, for myself.
unless you're offering.
You know, he shakes his head. The Loud Ones and I have been working on that for quite some time. The council is almost unanimously going to support me. There are a few that are in question simply because of their fresh faces, Son in particular. But the majority vote should go smoothly. I imagine in a few days' time, the council will gather, and within a week, I'll be sat. Once done, I'll show Chicago a time of peace that they didn't know could exist. And those...
You do know that the same things that I know are going on, right?
He nods, and I have the utmost confidence that together we will overcome these problems. To expect Chicago to fall and destroy itself would be one of a pessimistic view. Why would I attain princedom if I think the city is going to fall anyway? I believe we will succeed. And afterward, Chicago will be a pillar of the Camarilla amongst a dying branch of government across the world.
And how will you ensure that?
By doing what Bella would not. Offering an olive branch to all. And squashing those who deny.
You mean bringing back the Lazambra?
That, he shakes his head, is a conversation for a future time. As of now, the Lasombra are the enemy and nothing more. I do not wish to negotiate with them. Not now.
So who exactly are you inviting back then?
He shakes his head. The gangrel will have an open hand. As earned by Dakota and her tax actions at Elysium.
Well, we all know they should have been invited back a long time ago.
He nods, and he goes, you took the words from my mouth. They were removed unjustly for petty reasons. The Toreador are going to need a reputation to repair. We will be there to help them. The Nosferatu will see a time of hopefully peace and acceptance. I don't operate on high clan, low clan mentality like our previous prince. All kindred are welcome and necessary.
Well, not all.
The Lasombra are a unique situation at the moment. And you, Emmy, are a Ventru. You belong with your own.
And what about the Sabbat?
Sabbat will be rooted out and killed. Sabbat are nothing but a nuisance, attempting to bring the Dark Ages back that have long served nothing more than to kill our own people. The Camarilla is the answer, as imperfect as it may be, and it is imperfect as all things are. It is the most stable form of government our people have seen. I do not wish to watch that fall away. Kindred are great.
And the Anarchs?
We will maintain a deal with them as we've discussed. I will not move against them at the moment, and they will have a chance to rebuild. I will remain in contact with those who lead the Anarchs for as long as is necessary. But for now, a tenuous peace is in place. It's time for Chicago to rebuild, Emmy. After this issue with La Sombra is taken care of, Chicago deserves to prosper.
And what if it falls?
And I will die trying to keep it alive. This is my home.
We'll see if you keep your word to that.
Have I taken, or gone, rather say, have I backstabbed you or gone against my word so far?
No, it's just a matter of when things get tough, sometimes people don't do what they say.
Which is why we've worked so well so far. Because the loud ones are not cowards.
So what do you need of the loud ones?
Nothing any longer. I will move into a position of maintaining control and peace throughout the city. The greater whole is not aware of the situation we deal with. In the meanwhile, I'll provide funding, supplies, and as many bodies as I can, if I can. I will continue to ensure that our efforts are put forward to putting to rest the La Sombra issue.
That's what's important to the loud ones.
Important to the city.
Important to all of us.
He nods. Rarely do you meet kindred with any sort of honor. I hope the loud ones maintain that. However, this all ends.
She smiles at that.
I will be indisposed for the next few nights, as you imagine. If you need anything, leave a line with the sheriff.
She nods.
Emmy, it has been a pleasure.
She offers her hand.
He takes it and shakes. Emmy leaves.
It's always a pleasure, Kevin.
She just grins at him like really big.
He takes it. He uses your first name with you. Right?
Looks back. What was the Sovereign doing the whole time that we were there?
Oh,
that I was
he
there?
left with Damien.
Oh, he left. Okay.
He went to go to the Ivory Tower with Damien.
Okay, I didn't know if he was still there. And looking around the room, there's nothing there, right?
Oh, completely abandoned. This is clearly a temporary prop up just to get their shit together after the chaos of Elysium.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll head out then.
And it's at this point you would head to the Lights Out pub, where you would enter the Lights Out pub, and time fast forwards and sort of catches up with everybody. Emmy, you left with Ava, was it?
Yeah, I left with Ava.
And Ava, where were you going?
I was going to take her back to the cheesecake, to the theater,
Okay,
and
that's
show her
pretty
where the dagger is.
Is there any conversation you wanted to have with the two of you, or are you kind of just out and you doing your thing?
Oh, I think so.
Yes.
Let's have that conversation, because that's probably the shortest scene we're gonna have. So we'll start with that. You walk out the front door or the back door. Grant kind of gives you a half-hearted wave as you leave. Grant looks confused a little bit as to what the fuck is going on, but he also understands shit is about to hit the fan and shit's stressful for everybody. So he just kind of goes about his stuff. And the two of you would leave. And would you head into a car, or would you walk?
Probably walk.
You
For
walk.
walking, Emmy is definitely holding Ava's hand.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. The perfect mask.
So what were you up to, Emmy, while we were busy the last night or two?
Well, I thought you were going to fill me in on more details first.
Yes, I can. Since it's just us now, I can give you the details of the diablerie. It was so. I mean, I was actually quite surprised that both Dakota and Ollie wanted to do it, because for so long they were against doing something like this. But I think we are in the end times, as some would say. So it does call for making decisions that you wouldn't previously make.
Oh, we'll see about that.
Yes. But I want to say that it wasn't my influence. I did suggest that I wanted to do it.
Okay. I love you so much. I love Ava. I just wanted to say it wasn't my fault.
It
Not
wasn't
my problem. Definitely wasn't me. Not me.
I did not. I am
Sorry, I just love that.
guiltless in this. They made the decision all on their own. That's all I just want to say.
It is interesting that Holly just made that decision to do that.
I agree.
How did they decide who ended up doing it?
Well, Ollie did it
Did you just play a
first.
game?
No.
Oh, there were multiple people.
There was the Zamichi who was masking as my sire, Siana, and that's the one that Dakota took. And then there was the Malkavian that Ollie had taken. And Ollie went first and Dakota went second. And it was a little scary because it didn't go too well with Ollie. So Dakota was on the fence of even doing it. And then she finally decided, and it was very final. Like, we basically made the decision, if this Zamichi took over Dakota, that we would have to kill her. And that was actually kind of scary to think about, that it could have come to that, because we didn't really know how old. I tried to help figure out how old they were, because if they were really old, that makes it a bit more risky and difficult to perform this. But it was a lot of work, and Dakota was resilient and she made it through. But it was scary for a second to think that we could have lost either of them. And I understand the power that this gives, but for the first time, I truly realized the risk of doing those types of things and why it's so frowned upon by kindred, and it is a act of sin in some ways. So I wouldn't recommend any of us look to do it more for a long time.
You were scared?
I was scared. Yeah. I thought I could have lost either of them.
What if you did?
We're so close to the end. I couldn't even think about losing them to something like this.
Well, even after it, you can still lose them.
We could.
Malkavian, Well, that's going to be more of a pickle than I thought.
Yes, he's already seemed a bit kind of spacey, Ollie. He
Kind of live in their own little world, one might say.
Yeah.
But nothing too different from Ollie. He loves the labyrinth. Just a different type of one.
That's a good way to put it, actually. But anyway, that's really what went down and how it all happened. And I'm still in shock that it happened. And Ollie might not be the same for a while, but I think there is still hope. I've been to that level of low that Ollie is at right now, and it's not fun, but I think he can come out from it probably faster than I could. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've definitely been there as well before. Maybe even lower.
Oh, it's a little scary to think about. So that's what happened with us. What happened with you?
No, nothing too crazy. Had a long chat with Jackson.
You went to Jackson.
Yeah.
And did he have anything interesting to say?
Interesting, maybe not so much. But he did have things to say. Really not as much as I thought he would, though. kind of boring.
That's Ventru business. It's all boring. But did he say anything about the attacks? Was he surprised that Sabat raided the Elysium, or did he seem like he was expecting it? Did he even mention it?
You know, he's really good at the whole talking thing, kind of like you in some ways.
Yeah.
He said that it was unexpected as far as the Sabat goes and the death of Bella, but I think there was something more there.
There probably is. I don't
Especially
know.
considering he thinks the turnaround will only be a week for him to take
A
back the
week?
seat. Apparently, the council is going to support him, everybody except for maybe Sun.
That doesn't surprise me. He's been working on this for some time to have the support of multiple clans. That seems plausible.
Definitely. And they even have a plan for your little Toreador friends
What's his plan for the Toreador?
to help them renew themselves, you know, type of thing, making sure they stay in good standing.
Well, Toreador and Ventru working together isn't the most unheard of thing. As long as he keeps a Toreador Primogen seat open, I think that's all we can really ask for at this point.
I did overhear something else as I was walking through his hallways.
What else did you hear?
Ballard. Ugh.
What did Ballard say?
The Toreador will be no problem. We invested in them. I don't hear pushback. So whatever they're plotting, Toreador are involved in it.
And he thinks that they could push back.
He doesn't think they will.
He doesn't think they will, but it might be something that could rustle some feathers.
Good.
To what is he referring? Does he have
I
other
don't know.
plans?
But they're still going to maintain the deal with the Anarchs and the gang girl. But Lasambra and Sabat are out. Which is interesting.
Because I think we say interesting. At the
Yeah,
same
like
time.
just interesting. Well, I trust Jackson has his plans and he's going to move forward with them regardless. We did our job. We helped him. We may never find out if he truly was the one that escalated the things that happened at Elysium, but at this point, maybe it doesn't even matter.
He says he doesn't need anything else from the Loud Ones and that he'll support us and give us resources and whatever we need for the Lasambra issue. And he's going to help me get back on the Ventru board. Of course, after he's Prince.
And that's truly it then. What's done is done with Jackson.
Well, if Rudy doesn't mess things up with the Justicar.
Yes.
Ollie seems pretty mad about that.
Yeah, because Rudy is nothing we ever say to him actually gets through.
Then why do you keep going to him? I was mostly just curious about him earlier, after what Dakota and I found out about him. But after meeting him the first time, I wasn't that impressed. He was in hiding.
Because he was Ollie's Malwa. He was there for Ollie and sometimes, and he was our ally. He in his own weird way, he was. I guess he still is, but I don't know if we can expect somebody that ancient to actually do anything.
Imagine having all that power and then just hiding.
Maybe that is just how it is for all of us. We get old enough and we become complacent.
Is that
This
what's
is-
happening with you, Ava?
No, not yet. If it hasn't happened with you, then maybe we're safe for at least a couple of 100 years.
Maybe. I don't want to get old like that. I think the more years that I put on, the more fun I want to have.
I admire about you, Emmy. I think we
You
need
guys
that.
are very, very depressing today.
And you're strangely not. Have you had any more of that?
Hasn't been that long. It's only been a few nights still. So
Okay. That this may wear off eventually. We'll worry about that problem when the time comes.
Well, I might have a supplier, so I'll probably just owe them something big.
Look, I won't say nothing. I won't narc.
Look, there's the theater.
Yes. Yeah. I ain't saying nothing to Ollie and Dakota. I ain't a narc.
And we watch as the two of you walk into the theater, but our camera does not follow you. Instead, we hard cut back to the lights out pub. You went down the stairs. Where do we see Ollie as our camera fades back in? Not actually out in the lights out pub, correct?
Correct. Ollie is probably walking a beaten path around the pillars in the basement of the dirt floor.
Just was like a speed walking pace, or are you like more kind of slow and
Steady. It's just
steady?
Ollie's tall, so long strides.
Sure. And Dakota, you bounced, right? You wouldn't have followed him down here.
Yeah, no, I bounced to give the Nosferatu their space. Dakota respects that.
Yep, absolutely. So we see you walking for a while. Does that ever break, or do you go down there and you just walk until you're told somebody arrives?
I think Ollie will probably just walk until someone or something breaks a stride.
It would be Grant's voice. Hey, boss. One of the people you were expecting there. I think one of them's here.
Send him down.
He nods and scoots off. About 5 minutes pass before Edith walks in and kind of just takes a look around the place.
I'll be honest, you weren't the first person I was expecting to show up at my door.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
No, it's a surprise.
She walks over kind of slowly. Well, you've made a name for yourself, and you've never once truly called for the Nosferatu. It's intriguing. I'm curious what the reason is.
I don't really know what kind of attendance I'm expecting. I was kind of hoping the rat tail was going to show with you, but I imagine he's got some things that he has to tend to.
She actually reaches into a nearby. I think she would have had a small bag actually on her. She would over her purse. She'd pull out a little cigarette holder as she always does and kind of puts it in. She goes, "That one's my fault," and she lights it. The club is still open, and he is the best front doorman I have.
Understood. I mean, he's always been good at that.
She takes a long drag, and she almost habitually goes to offer it to you, then remembers you know that's not particularly something you do.
Yeah.
And as she lets it through, but I'll make sure anything said here will make him its way to his ears.
Yeah. Well, you can walk with me if you like, or we can take a seat upstairs. I've got a private booth.
She actually gestures to walk. She goes, "I sit down far too often. Let's walk."
And if she's not opposed to it, he'll extend like the arm for to clasp under arm sort of thing.
And she very much takes it. And in a very gentlemanly fashion, the two of you begin their stroll. And
Chicago's
she actually
a mess.
What was that? Sorry. Oh, Chicago's a mess. Sorry. And she giggles as she takes a drag from her cigarette and lets it as it spills from her lips afterward. It always will be. It's just varying states of cleanup. It's why I love my club, my little paradise, where all things are my own. Kind of like this, I imagine. And she gestures to your kind of big area.
Yeah. It's something that I always liked from the living world. You know, there was a couple of bars that I would frequent, not very different than this. But I also like to get a little rough and tumble in the dirt. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, which is why I have this here. It's my own little piece of heaven where I don't have to open my mouth. I can let my hands talk for me.
She smiles as you continue walking. Fight clubs are popular among our kind.
You fight much, Edith?
No, I was never one to get my hands dirty, in the more literal sense, I suppose. There was a time in my heyday. Well, I was certainly one to be reckoned with on the information front, but it's just not where my heart was.
How do you feel about ShrekNet?
It was a invaluable tool. It could be again, but I have suspicions simply of Ballard and the Ventrue as a whole being the ones funding it.
What if I could confirm that?
I suppose I should say more suspicions about ShrekNet as a whole, because it's being funded by Ventrue.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
aware Ballard's dirty fingers have dipped their way into the ShrekNet, but it's also seemingly very hands-off, surprisingly. I still don't trust it enough to go back into it, though.
Of course. I've got access to 2.0, and admittedly it is, well, in recent years it is flying very quietly so, but I tended back to it just to see what was moving amidst the rumor mill, and, well, to no surprise, people are very upset at the La Sombra. Did you see many of them at the club?
Oh, not recently, no, but in the past, certainly. More common a few years ago, honestly.
Well, did you hear about the events at Elysium?
Last night was chaotic, I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, we, well, look, I mean, I guess there's really no two ways to say this, so, there is no doubt that our position has been sort of lost, or at least at a loss because of the removal of Snitch. I don't know how you feel about him, but the NASA, well, we can all agree that our unique situation is very challenged right now. We got no voice. I know it was just last night, but I don't know when that's going to be getting any better. Not that I think that our position was ever really strong under the influence of a Toreador prince anyway, but, you know,
We've
we've...
certainly had her petty squabbles with our kind.
Right.
And she goes, she stops for a moment and walks, and she actually, like, looks to you. Speaking of, you look good. I like you better this way. And she kind of, like, gestures to you not having a mask on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she smiles, and you see her, row of jagged teeth.
Everybody always told me I was running from it. I don't know what I was running from, to be honest. I guess I was trying to stay alive. Trying to keep up appearances, since I'm not exactly the most Nosferatu you meet.
She continues walking with you, and I don't know if running's the right word, but it's natural to want to try and cling to what you were. You are still, and forgive me, I don't mean this insultingly, but a babe among our kind.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that at every turn, but man, I'm not treated like one. Babies aren't expected to have responsibility. We look at our young where we're supposed to coddle them, hold them, encourage them. Shit, since I've been a kindred, I've just been repeatedly whooped upon over and over again, and I'm not sure if that's where it differs from kind to kindred or not.
You see her smile, and not in a, like a you make her laugh way, but almost just like it's the what you say is reassuring or fascinating. She says, "Tell me, how many fledglings do you know?"
Well, from my understanding, it's just supposed to be the loud ones. Maybe a couple of thin bloods that eked in here or there.
Do you know why that is?
I have my suspicions.
Because
Why
the
do you
kindred
think?
world doesn't coddle anyone. You sink or you swim. And those who swim, and she looks to you and then to everything you have, they tend to truly blossom. Coddling will
Yeah.
do you nothing other than encourage you to become someone's pawn. That's what ghouls are for.
Yeah, the problem is at some point, you may not necessarily need coddled, but you need friends. Because without friends, you'll wind up in situations like Snitch.
She smiles. I agree. I try to have a relatively close-knit circle of friends myself. Socializing is something I was never able to rid myself of, no matter my appearances, as she reaches in to get another cigarette to start smoking.
Look, I don't want to beat around the bush with you here, Edith. I don't know if you know this already, but I'm guessing because of your unique position as well, and being one of the brokers in this city, Kevin Jackson's going to take the throne.
She nods. I know.
I suspect it'll be done within the next couple of weeks at the longest.
For the sake of our cities, for the sake of our city, I hope so. You
A lot
remember
of
what it
people
was
fell.
like.
From my personal belief, I have no proof in this, but a lot of people fell in that recent Elysium, and I think it's at his hands.
She just kind of there's no hesitation. She just nods and she says, "And what if you're right? What then?"
I think that the Nosferatu have been deliberately separated and disenfranchised because of how dangerous we can be when we're unified. And Snitch told me before his death that he had enough dirt on many people in the city that he could bring it to its knees. And I find it very strange that within the week of him telling me that, he was killed.
She says, "Good. It means your survival instincts are intact. You may be right. You may be entirely wrong. It doesn't matter. What's done is done.
It's true.
Take that lesson and use it to keep yourself safe. Whatever mistakes you believe Snitch made, err not to make them yourself."
Snitch was grooming me, Edith. He was, under my recommendation, he was stepping down from Primogen, and he was grooming me to retake his position as Primogen of Chicago for the Nosferatu.
She like kind of just pats your hand gently, like a grandmother would, and smiles. "And what are your thoughts?" Snitch has been looking for somebody to take his place for some time. You were the first that held the promise of an actual answer for him. Somebody who may. But none of that matters if it's not something you wanted.
I want to bring together the Nosferatu again. I want us to be reminded that we are not simply cowards, that we don't just hide our heads in the shadows. That's what Snitch told me all the time. Hide, hide, hide. Just keep hiding, Butcher. Just keep hiding. I hate that. I hate that. I'm not one to hide. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some dark passenger Batman. That's not the case, but I've only gotten to this point because I was capable of making friends. I was willing to leverage information. I wasn't afraid to blackmail. I was one to adapt. I'm not here to be played. I played with the power behind the throne. I enforced the masquerade in these spaces. I equalized the playing field. and I made the closest friends. And it's just unfortunate to me at this point in the game that my Nosferatu friends are lacking, and that my best friends are also the disenfranchised Gangrel and the one Toreador, Eva Heloise. Yes, we're a coterie, but they're the blood of my blood.
A noble aspiration of you, Mr. Hopkins, but what do you intend to do?
Well, I'm going to do as Snitch asked of me. And I'm going to continue monitoring the labyrinth. Because nobody else knows how to traverse it. Jackson knows that now. He had me walk Damien through myself. I'm also going to monitor his prison. You probably heard about it, even if you don't know how to get there.
If I may, one of Snitch's downfalls.
My thoughts as well.
The man didn't know when to step back. Spread himself too thin. To be a manager or managing the labyrinth and the prison they're in, though I won't pretend to understand the details of it. He never truly spoke of it often. But also to be Primogen, and also the heart of the Nosferatu opened him to many avenues to build many enemies, even amongst his own kind. If you wish to be the heart of the Nosferatu, as you seem to be for your coterie, try to make sure you're able to be there for them and not spread yourself everywhere.
Well, Edith, I don't think I need to be a Primogen in order to be the heart of the Nosferatu.
She nods. I agree.
I think I just have because I don't like raising my voice. It often means I have to raise my fist.
I also agree, which is another reason I'm here. I wanted to temperature gauge you. I know that you were Snitch's little pet. I don't mean that disparagingly. I apologize.
Oh, I was Snitch's only friend. I was Rudy's pet.
She kind of moves on, just like almost pushing forward from that. But you remind me, perhaps of this. Maybe it's the reason we got along so well. You remind me of somebody I'd like you to meet, who has been within Chicago for some time, but mainly sticking to the sewer. Somebody I believe would make an excellent Primogen, and has been doing his best to make himself known a little more. His name is Khed.
What do you know about him?
He is like a less violent version of you.
That's not necessarily a good thing. At least in Chicago, that's not necessarily a good thing.
You are the only other kindred beyond him that I've ever met that cares about how kindred treat kind. That our relationship with kind is as important with kindred. And that a relationship amongst kindred should be less adversarial and more cooperative. That is Khed.
Well, then where is he?
Ideally, he'll be arriving. I know his childer was at the Ivory Tower earlier yesterday evening. I imagine they're busy. But
Who's his childer?
Wakenna?
Ah, yeah. It's funny that I've heard of Wakenna, but I've not heard of him.
Wakenna is certainly a bit more of an ambitious kindred than Khed.
I would argue to say that being Primogen is pretty ambitious in regards to our position.
And she nods at that. I do think that in order to be Primogen, there has to be a bit of a sense of self. The ego must be stronger. Khed understands the responsibilities of being on the council, but I believe he would like to use his influence to do similar things that you do, to try and remind kindred where we come from. We were all kind once.
Well, hear him out. If he even remotely seems hokey or transparent, he doesn't have my endorsement. And if he wouldn't have my endorsement, he certainly wouldn't have Snitch's.
I agree with that as well. That's were you going to say something? My apologies.
No, I'm just kind of gauging what her next move might be here.
She simply seems to just continue enjoying your company. It would be a little while before the next individual showed up. I just don't. Is there more conversation you'd like to have with her specifically before anyone else showed up?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask her where she stood with Snitch.
A mutual respect for one another, but rarely did we cross paths professionally.
Why is that?
Like I said, I just simply don't long for that life any longer. I mingle in the politics when necessary, but I much prefer sticking to what I'm passionate about. Snitch, on the other hand, had a rather different view on how Nosferatu in the city should be treated, and he did what he thought was right to further his own goals.
All right. Can I use you as a bit of a barometer?
Please.
What is the overall disposition of the Chicago Nosferatu on me?
She laughs and smiles. Do you truly care?
Of course I do.
You're well liked, but your rather public position makes it difficult for some to come to you. Not everybody is comfortable with the way they look, and some have flourished, hiding away in the sewers. Khalid spends most of his time there, actually, as a little office in the sewers that he works from. Actually, you may have heard of Khalid. And she takes a moment. I get his name. He has a mortal name that he goes by as a mask that he uses as a journalist in the city that you may have heard of. I think it's Patrick something. But do you often like read newspapers, Ollie? I imagine you're kind of the person who does.
Probably a little bit here and there.
Keeps touch with it as best you can.
It's like old habits, right? Old habits
Yeah.
die hard. And like for some, it's smoking, but for Ollie, it's kind of like, let's just check out the regular news.
Yeah. I opened the wrong book. There we go. I already had it open. Okay.
Ollie would
she
probably
goes-
also tell her while she's like digging for that, while you're digging for the information. Yeah, I understand. I understand that coming to a public place is a little difficult, which is why a dive bar was sort of essential to me. But now that you have seen this place, I would like for you to spread that around, that my fight club, my area here, is open even to them. And there are no cameras here. No one will follow us down. It's by invite only. And the Nos can talk to me here. Clearly, cleanly, privately.
You'll be in the labyrinth more often, I imagine.
No, I like being above ground if I can. There's a large part of me that wants to go down to the labyrinth and completely disassemble that prison of his. That's what I think was the tear down for Snitch. He was keeping a place that didn't really want him to be keeping it.
Also, I guess my question to you would be: how much does Ollie keep up with political journalism specifically?
Not very heavily, no.
So you
like
probably
he's
wouldn't
still,
have heard of him.
It's like comics and sports.
Yeah, so you probably wouldn't have heard of him, but he goes by Patrick Hampton. He's a political journalist, a bit of a persona he plays. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. You don't even know the name.
Okay, so they've heard of me. They kind of like me. Who wished for Snitch to fall?
Among the Nosferatu?
Of course, there's always dissenters, people who don't believe in the vision.
She takes a moment. I can't think of anybody who would want Snitch dead, but Nosferatu are secret keepers. If they did, they'd be well within their rights to keep it a secret.
Fair. Do you think there are any that never felt seen or heard? Like their voice was just too quiet or buried, or their issues were not that important or ambitious enough to be heard?
There is a moment where you see her thinking, that's the thing with Snitch. He truly was trying to look out for the Nosferatu. If somebody needed time, he would make time.
Yeah, he always made time for me.
But that opened him up to many avenues to make enemies.
I don't know how. Making yourself available makes you a bad guy.
But if you become friendly with somebody who somebody else sees as a top-level threat, enemy of my enemy, and so on.
Good point.
You see why I stepped away from all this nonsense.
Which is probably why I'd really just like to find someone that's going to be better for the position, because I don't buy the Camarilla bullshit. I just want to play middle ground. I don't like the Anarchs. They're piss babies. And Sabat are just whiners, the whole lot of them. They want dad to answer for some shit. It doesn't make any sense. Camarilla is constantly asking for permission to take advantage of someone else. Just live and let live, man.
She just,
I like what you have going on, Edith.
Sometimes the only way to find peace in this world of unending days is to just step away from it all. I believe the kids now are talking about boundaries. It's my boundary at the Camarilla.
I don't think boundaries exist for the Camarilla.
She nods. Yes, I'm aware. If they wish me dead, there's nothing I could do to stop them. But I can certainly minimize my interaction with them.
I can, just as a personal thing, and really it is completely personal. If Brett ever asks for a tattoo, can you make it like really ugly?
She laughs. She goes, "Oh, Mr. Hopkins, every tattoo that man has ever asked for, I thought has been ugly. But perhaps my handle slip. The hunger just couldn't be sated that evening, and the tremors took over."
Oh,
she like laughs and like she just pats your wrist and like giggles as she says it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me time here in my call. I'm really surprised that you got it, because you don't buy into ShrekNet, and that's where I put out that call.
She shakes her head. Just because I don't doesn't mean those I speak with don't.
I get you.
It's good to be here, and it's good to have more relaxed conversation with you, not rushed by time or meetings to come or tattoos to be done. I don't often get a break, and this has been enjoyable.
Well, we do have after hours at the pub. So if you need something that's a little different, a bit of a change of pace, you like jukeboxes and cheap beer, maybe you like cheesecake, if you can find it in yourself to enjoy that again.
She smiles and
it's welcoming.
She almost brings the walk to a close. Naturally, she's like, "Well, I imagine they'll be here shortly, but my night is still dictated by appointments, even if I could free up more time than usual. It's been a pleasure, Mr. Hopkins, truly. And if you do see Khalid tonight, do give him a moment.
Sure.
At the very least, for me.
As a courtesy, I'll kiss her hand and walk her upstairs.
She smiles, and as you walk her upstairs, you actually see Grant. I mean, yeah. Just oh, never mind. Here he is. And as you walk up, you actually see him speaking with somebody. He is dressed like a 1920s gangster. He has a double-vested like jacket on. He has a what do you call those? Like a trilby style hat, kind of just sat at the top of his head. His ears kind of are prolongated a bit, and you can see his skin is rough as he has a row of just jagged teeth, like so many Nosferatu do. His left arm is actually hanging limply, and in his right, he carries a silver cane. The suit is perfectly tailored to him in dress shoes, and as he gestures over, he looks over to you as you're walking Edith up, and he just grins, and as he walks over to Edith, he simply reaches out and takes her hand and brings it close as they actually give each other a hug. And she goes, "The timing couldn't be more appropriate. Ollie, Mr. Hopkins, this is Khalid. Is your child?" And he just shakes his head. "Nah, I couldn't bring Waneka with me, unfortunately, but nights are getting busy. You must be Mr. Hopkins."
Yeah.
A pleasure. I've heard so much about you and this place." And he points to the sign. "I think we're going to get along." And he reaches out his hand. His one good hand as he leans the cane into the crux of his limp hand. And he reaches out his right hand. "Khalid."
Ollie Hopkins. I'll shake his hand.
You shake his hand. And afterwards, she just kind of quickly just, says her goodbyes to hellos and goodbyes to him and then to you. And then he walks off, or she walks out. And before she opens, as the door opens, before it's closed, you lose sight of her. She vanishes.
Of course.
And Khalid continues, I do apologize. I would have loved Waneka to be here to discuss things with you as well, but the Ivory Tower certainly has him embroiled after the previous night's chaos.
Yeah, it's messy.
He smiles. I apologize for not having met you properly, but perhaps you heard my name on Shreknet.
Please, provide some illumination to that.
Extremely uncommon name. I'm Watchdog. And he kind of like laughs at his terrible, what you would assume is a joke, because he called it extremely common or extremely creative or whatever. And he just says, I'm Watchdog on Shreknet.
I will not reveal my name, but I will smile to him and make a permanent note of Watchdog being that individual. I mean, I was just going to spend this time kind of gauging him as a person to see.
You can
see
make
what
me
he's kind of like
a wits insight check.
Sure, I am gonna rouse.
Please do.
All right, wits
insight.
That's not bad for me.
Good. Great, and you could willpower 3.
Yeah, I'm. If this is gonna be for the duration of the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. From 5.
You critical. You do
10.
I was gonna say, you want to add that up for me?
10 successes.
10 successes. Over the conversation, do you bring him back down to where you were walking before?
Yeah.
And he walks with you very elegantly. He kind of has like he's like that 1920s like mob strut to him. The way he carries himself is like very prim and proper, very much beholden to that time. And there's still a little bit of an accent, a little bit of the lingo kind of creeps in to his conversation. However, as you discuss things with him, maybe bringing up the same things that you did with Edith, you are receiving answers that Edith kind of told you would. He didn't. I mean, unless there's any very particular questions you want to role play out with him, for the most part, it seems like he really does line up with your values at the least. Your values in terms of he talks about how kind and how people have forgotten where they fucking came from, and these aren't animals; these are who we once were. And understanding that they also our food is part of who we are, but there can be more can be done to treat these people with respect. And as far as the Camarilla, he's very much similar to Edith. He seems like he has a massive distaste for the political games, but understands that without somebody on the council, there is nobody there for the Nosferatu, and to let that fall by the wayside for somebody who could take it and then do bad things for the Nosferatu, bring a bad reputation. He says that's why he feels he needs to kind of come out of the sewers and be done hiding, which you also learn that Khalid, he'll probably talk about a little bit, like he kind of went underground for a while. He disappeared for a bit. And he just kind of talk about how like he sort of just needed to refine himself. And as Chicago started getting kind of chaotic, he started getting more involved. And then he tells you about his mask as the political journalist, where he kind of that way ingratiates himself a little bit more with the mortal world, which is how he also kind of plays into the idea of like treating kind better. He's through his political journalist connections, he's clearly made connections with politicians.
Okay. Does he seem genuine, or does this seem like a smoke show?
No, he seems genuine. I mean, there's always a bit of that mobster swagger that comes off as disingenuous.
Sure.
But Ollie has dealt with mobsters for his whole of his unlife, and then even on some level during his mortal life.
Yeah.
You can pick up just like what's just him puffing his chest for the sake of puffing his chest, and where he truly means what he says. And it does truly seem like he carries intent with his words, that he truly does seem to care about these things that he's saying he cares about.
Then...
Whether he wants to be primogen or not, like due to just a necessity or a desire, you can't tell if it's mobster swagger or whatever, but you imagine there's probably a part of him that just has that draw from that time. But he, there are also mobsters who use their power to truly try to make the city they were around better, even if they rationalized what the crimes they were doing to do it. Like there was still a kindness, quote unquote, to their actions, at least in their minds, and that genuine, like, caring nature seems to come out of Khalid's words.
Then I think I'd like to express to him that this is that if everything that he said is true, right? This is just face value first meeting.
Face value
everything
first meeting, yes.
that he said is
And you
absolutely
rolled
true.
An amazing fucking roll. Keep that in mind as well.
Then he has to prove it.
Sure.
That he has a unique situation here. Because as much as I want to take the seat for the voice of the Nosferatu in the city, that's not really where my heart lies. My heart lies with the unification and providing a space for all walks of life, despite their background, to come in and set aside their differences to have a drink, maybe to negotiate, do whatever they got to do, but no disciplines, blah, 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 the whole shebang.
Right.
But that it's important to note that with the coming nights, if there's any proof in his pudding, he's going to have to step up and be a part of this war, because that's what it is. There's no two ways to it.
Are you specifically saying, like, you want him there to fight with you? Is that what you're kind of hinting at? Or are you looking for evidence that he gives a shit?
Both. I think it's if you want. That's the thing. Like, Ollie can talk all night long, but unless their gestures match their words, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. He would say, if you need evidence of my intent, particularly when it comes to the treatment of kind, the name that I go under as a journalist should be tied to a number of nonprofit groups that I have been invested in since their inception, and I continue to support to the best of my financial means, all of which are about bringing, for instance, there's a part of Chicago that desperately needs a renewed water supply, along with a total renovation of some of their living compartments that have been foreclosed upon. I want to take those. And unlike the Ventru, where they would knock it down and create these generic ass apartments that, yeah, might bring in money, might make the place look nice, drive those who are there out. Instead, I would love to turn those into shelters. And one of the grassroots organizations that I work with are about building shelters for those that are without homes, to try and bring them some place of security on a nightly basis. Issue is, I'm doing it through a name of a name. I'm this because I am what I am. And he looks at what he looks down to himself and gestures, but doesn't mean it's impossible.
Then there's a couple of ways that you can benefit the situation here. It's not exactly a surprise that I made a name for myself in this space with as loud as I actually am. Hell, it's part of my coterie. It's what we do. We just make noise. So I'm sure you're aware that this area has been profited from the back pockets of the Ventru.
He nods.
I want to take it out of their pockets. I want to put some Nosferatu in play, and you could prove that in one way, but I mean more than that as well, Khalid. I mean that in the coming nights that there is going to be a war in the shadows.
He looks to you with a
come on,
eyebrow.
watchdog, you read ShrekNet. You know that there's some issues with Lasombra.
But he, as you say, war in the shadows could mean many a thing. He looks to you to elaborate.
Well, you're aware of the Lasombra issue?
He nods. But how would you like me to help?
How can I call on you?
I gave you my name on ShrekNet. That's a direct line. You can message me there.
So if I message you there, you'll be here in 15?
As long as I'm within a 15-minute distance. And he smiles, and he kind of lays a breathy chuckle.
Well, you think that hand's ready to get dirty?
To imply it hasn't been dirty already.
Something's going to go down in Madison. And I'm going to need more hands than not. The gangrel are going to be there. And they don't even have a seat in the city. And you and I, we might be political rivals if this goes tits up. So why not have my endorsement? Earn my backing, Khalid. Because I can be the heart of the Nas elsewhere. But you're right, they need a face. They need a voice. They need to be heard. And we can't just be ostriches with our head in the sand. So either you come yourself, or you back us with enough support that we don't have to ask for you to come help us.
He, he seems to like chew on that for a few beats. Not in a way like he's looking to say no, but more just kind of taking it in. I can't promise all of us will heed that call to violence, but there's one. I don't keep contact with him. I know he's talked to Jackson occasionally. Nosferatu by the name of Nathaniel Bordruff. You're aware of him.
Yeah, he's got a reputation.
Yeah. Rumor is Jackson might be eyeing him to take on a role within the city.
All right, let me counter offer here. You can use our clan abilities, right? You can go invisible.
He nods.
Can Wakena?
He nods again.
You know Flick?
I do. Reliable man.
How about I get you three out there? You go invisible, we radio up, and you keep eyes. Eyes where we can't have eyes.
He nods. Wakena, I can guarantee will say yes, as long as he looks around. The ivory tower's a bit chaotic. When are you looking to do this?
You'll know as soon as I know. But we need eyes, even if you don't get your hands dirty. I need someone that's going to report into me because we're expecting potential Inquisition threat. And I would rather not be blindsided.
Not everybody's on Shreknet. I'll need to send out some messengers, but I'll send it out this evening.
Then I will wait to hear from you.
He nods. Mr. Hopkins, while not everybody within the Nosferatu appreciate your role, without it, we wouldn't be where we are today. So know that I appreciate everything you've done. And I don't need you to say anything else. I'm not looking for anything. I just genuinely want you to know that while not all Nosferatu might understand the impact you've had, I do.
Thank you, Khalid.
He shakes his head. No need. Thank you. I'll reach out tonight to my child. As for the rest, I'll put the word out best I can. I may need to send a few rats, but I can almost promise I'll get a hold of Flick at the very least. Let me know when, and I'll give you my answer.
You got it.
He tips his hat, and with the swagger that he walked in with, he looks to walk away.
I let him.
And as he does, our camera will cut as he walks out the door and we hear it shut. We are then, first, we hear the rocking of the waters. Did you want to do anything before we go to the boat scene, Dakota?
First would just be to leave word at the ivory tower. Like, I just want to stroll through the front door, leave word with our dear, dear friend at the front desk that I'm looking for Damien.
As you walk in, very similar to what Ava saw the night previous, this place is buzzing with familiar kindred faces that you've seen, others that you're not familiar with, and everything in between mortals and ghouls and whatnot. But as you walk in, you actually see Katie. She's on a phone right now having a conversation, and the conversation goes for a while. And as she hangs it up, the phone rings immediately afterward, and you just see her reach over and hit the mute button, smile, take a deep breath, and look to you, Dakota.
Katie.
How can I help you?
First and
Miss
foremost, I'm here to make sure that you're still smiling.
She gives a PR practice smile, as always. And she says, things have been hectic, but manageable. How are you?
Some people would say it's exciting.
Some people may.
Well, since you and I are none of those people, please put word out to our sheriff that I have news on our unexpected party guests.
You see her just start typing away on the computer. It'll be sent out. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, he's been busy. It's been a busy couple nights, but
I've no doubts. But I have a feeling, considering the fact that they were unwanted guests, that finding them is of the utmost importance.
I just hope I get to keep my job, whoever ends up coming in.
I'll put in a good word for you, Katie.
She smiles. Thanks, Miss Rain. Or Dakota, I don't know why I bother calling you Miss Rain.
Yeah, don't do that. I don't like that.
It's habit. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's okay. That's it. You go back to that blinking phone line, and I'm out.
And she already says, it's done and done. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And as you walk out, you bypass a couple of faces, but actually pass Kathy as she's actually walking in to the ivory tower.
I nod to Kathy. I want to make it known that I'm here. So, like, I'm slow strolling. I'm cool as a cucumber. I am not concerned. I just want to know who's here, who's in panic mode. What are they whispering about? Like, I'm just here to see
you
the
catch
fallout.
eyes with Kathy on the way out, and she does as well. And she actually stops and she goes, "Oh, I heard you guys were okay, but it's so good to see you. Oh, I wish
Kathy.
I could talk," but she gestures over to like a giant crowd. She's like, "It's gonna be a busy couple nights.
Do your thing, Kathy. I don't like crowds."
She walks away, and as you separate, you head back to the boat. As you get back to the boat, however, already waiting there, you actually see, not on your boat, he's not, but nearby, actually having a very pleasant conversation with the security guard. He's just chatting away. He's Becket. He's just having a talk.
Oh,
he's like, "So you've been a security guard for 5 years? No, 5 months. 5 months. Oh, so you're new? Yeah. People end up quitting, I guess, a lot of the time. Do they pay you well? What is minimum wage nowadays?" And he looked, and like that's what you walk into as you walk up to the boat. Becket does not.
I like clear my throat.
And he looks over, and as he's going to speak, he actually he pats him on the shoulder. "Hold that thought, Miss Rain. Shall we?"
I would very much like that. Where is your friend?
"Still with my old friend, Ice. He's with Gracious."
That's
and he just mumbles,
unfortunate.
"But I come bearing ideally good news. Come. And he walks away.
Yes, this
he
way to
waves
the
over.
boat. Yeah.
"It was good to meet you, Barrett. It was good to meet you." And he waves, and the guy kind of waves at him and whatnot. "As an individual, have you talked to him before?"
I find that when I talk to the security guards, they tend to quit.
"Oh, is that what?" Makes sense. He's a good one.
Note
Keep it
taken. I will have to shake his hand next time I see him.
You climb up onto the boat. Are you taking the boat out into the waters?
I mean, I kind of look at Beckett. I'm like, so good news. Does this require some privacy? Do you want a boat ride?
I always recommend privacy.
I turn her on, boot her
You
up,
start
and back her
puttering on
out.
out?
Yeah, I guess.
And you get out to the middle of the lake, and he's like very much enjoying the scenery. He seems to
Yes,
be
his
kind of
long
just
hair blowing in the night breeze. Yeah.
it's gently blowing in the night breeze as you're going in. He takes off, or doesn't take off, but he like lowers his sunglasses. He's the kind of guy who just always wears sunglasses at night for one reason or another. And as you make your way into the middle of it all, where you are find your privacy, and you bring the boat you turn the engine off and whatnot. You both turn to each other. "Well, good thing is Cretius was able to talk him into staying and having a conversation. I wasn't sure that would be able to be done, but Cretius can be persuasive when he really, really tries us all."
Well, he really, really wanted to meet Montano, so I imagine he could rustle it up.
It's not often that people of similar age bump into each other.
Well, yeah, especially not when Rudy tries so hard to not be found.
I know the whole of you, blame him for that, but everybody deals with their own circumstances differently. I would ask you not to judge him too harshly. He's made mistakes. Hopefully he's going to rectify them.
I tend to not judge most people. I just hope he comes around.
He lets that go, and he actually reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out his little notebook. And, he writes something down kind of quickly. "As far as Cretius is concerned, Cretius seems to agree with you that bringing in the Justicars is a mistake.
Yeah.
He does, however, agree that if things go poorly, the Justicar might be the only answer."
Well, that's usually how it works. You don't usually call them in for, the pregame.
He nods. Yes, but Montano would like to stop it before it even happens. And
Is it-
he may be. Well, whether he's making a sound decision or not is not mine to judge. I am simply here to observe.
Well, since you have the ability to maintain a 10,000-foot view, I care a lot about what he chooses to do. Not because I actually give a fuck about Rudy and Montano. But because
Well, remain safe in the knowledge that he will be here at least until tomorrow evening. He will not be leaving without me.
that does actually provide some comfort, I guess. No, I actually do kind of give a fuck about the city. He seems to only really care about himself, and that worries me.
I perhaps don't see it as such. I think for maybe a long while he did worry about himself. But I see a young boy desperate to undo the mistakes he made along the way. Have you ever met somebody who is unable to see the truth of their actions until the mountain is so high they have to climb it to see over it?
Yeah, it's called growing up.
Yes, it is. That's why I find the nature of our kind so interesting. It's almost as though when brought into the kindred life, you truly have to grow up all over again.
Yeah, I had to grow up long before this life, so maybe I'm just jaded to the whole woe is me circle of trauma.
He chuckles and shrugs. Perhaps you are, Miss Rain. Perhaps you are. You were the one that was thrust into this city unplanned. Unlike
Yep.
the others.
That's me, the unplanned gangrel.
You say that with such a defeatist attitude. Why?
Because I'm tired of hearing it?
Some of the best things that have happened on this planet are mistakes. Penicillin, for instance. A mistake, an accident. But humanity wouldn't exist without it. Perhaps you are Chicago's penicillin.
Well, hopefully I'll be somebody's penicillin. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't mind being a mistake. I was told I was a mistake since the day I was legitimately born.
I don't think anyone is a mistake.
I think I'm just tired of hearing it, not because it grinds away at me, but because it's boring. It doesn't really matter, does it? Why I was brought into this fucking life. It doesn't really matter why Ollie or Ava, not in the grand scheme of things. It's just an excuse for us to blame other people for our problems. Much like Rudy.
You are wise beyond your years, Miss Rain.
Yeah.
Do you know why Cretius is so eager to speak with Montano?
I do not. I guess he felt it wasn't much of my business, but I could at least assure him I could get Rudy to his door.
Well, you're right. It isn't any of your business. But there is a commonality between the two of them. Their sires. Not, perhaps I worded that too casually. The bond between they had with each of their individual sires was traumatic, abusive, and they are one of the first to break away from their sires. But they each took a different path. Cretius became active, remained active, better or worse, and sought to bring change with the moving hand of his own influence. He is a man who believes Carthage was the pinnacle and always is the pinnacle, while Montano believed that he could hide from it all, bury himself away so that his hand could neither harm nor help anyone, and in doing so, only further and worsened the problem.
Agreed.
But that commonality between them, I think, will allow Cretius to at least speak to him with somebody who has the years and experience that so many could never relate to him with.
Yeah, old dude to old dude. Yeah, I get it.
He smiles. Do you not find the same for yours? Do you not find it easier to speak to somebody that has a common history? Do you not find familiarity or family feel amongst Gangrel or even your own coterie? You are, as you said, one of many rejected playthings.
Yeah,
Commonality.
I guess. Does it make me feel better? Fuck no. Just means somebody has a whole lot of discarded fucking playthings.
But does it not mean you also are more open to speaking, being more vulnerable with your coterie mates?
Yeah, I guess they get my more vulnerable side, what's left of it.
And these two old cats have very few people that remember the times that they came from. To you, or rather to him, Montano, you all are nothing but infants, ignorant of your actions and unaware of the consequences you bring, whether he's right or wrong.
Seems
And
like
I
a
tend
lot
to
of
believe-
judgment from a guy who fucked up a lot in his younger years and is currently trying to, climb that mountain, as you said.
He smiles, and I am much like you, Miss Rain. The young ones that bring change, the young ones that set the rights of the wrongs. Again, something the mortals talk about nowadays is what? Generational trauma.
Yeah. Some people
It's
are
funny.
made out of it, I guess, but I...
The young ones are the ones that change the world. And you are the wave of the future. The ones who will bring change to Chicago and rid the chains of the elders' terrible, aggressive, violent tactics, even if it takes a few centuries.
Maybe. Hopefully. You know, maybe you're the only person that'll be honest with me about this. Why did the gangrel get asked to leave the Camarilla? I know here in Chicago it was Bella's hand because she was fucking getting back at me, or Sybil, or who the fuck ever. But we here in Chicago were at one point. But everybody else around makes it seem like we're not really welcome. Don't you think you'd want us on the team?
I think it'd be better if we were. I am one of you, after all. And he smiles.
So where did it all go wrong?
Then he sighs and continues as he kind of breaks eye contact for a bit. Everything you've just rightfully aired your grievances about. The sins of those who came before, rippling and affecting those who came after. It's the same. The one who represented the gangrel ended up being removed for many reasons, both of their own volition and that of the Camarilla, and much like the rest. When one is removed, the entire clan is looked down upon. A foolish reason.
Yeah,
But
no doubt.
I am not one who tend to care much about the Camarilla happenings. I move too much for it.
You care enough to write it down.
He nods. Because for some reason, the past, the fools of the past, refused to write it down or wrote down their own versions of things. I wish simply to understand the nature of kindred. So I spend my life doing that. You seem like a kindred spirit in that regard. Desperate to understand why.
Well, it's only the why that helps us not relive that history all over again.
And he smiles. Exactly, Miss Rain. You know, in another life, you would have made an excellent philosopher or teacher. In fact, and he smiles. In fact, it's not too late for you to make that of yourself now.
Yeah, I really doubt that. I'm not great with them. Not really. I mean, hell, I couldn't read 10, 15 years ago.
He shrugs. Doesn't matter where you were 10 or 15 years ago. It matters where you are now.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you there are very few people that will take a gangrel and willingly to educate them, so, you know, you're kind of an anomaly, and I guess so is Cretius.
He says, yes, people tend to see me as an outsider, but I also tend to stay on the outside. I have a very strict do not intervene policy.
Why?
Because if I intervene, then my own meddlings will influence the will of the kindred, and if I wish to understand why kindred act the way they do, I can only merely observe. In fact, me discussing this with you is already laying a fingertip on the scales.
Oops.
But, Miss Rain, I feel a kindred spirit in you.
Yeah, maybe that's just the gangrel blood.
He chuckles, if only. Not many gangrel would take on the role of chronicler.
I would actually agree with that, much like many would not take up an advocate position. But
Would you, though?
what?
Would you?
Take up position of a chronicler? Why? I do
To
not.
record modern history, to understand.
Well, that's what you do. Why would I need? We don't need two.
You think I'm the only one?
I think. Yeah, you're not the only one.
We are rare, certainly, but no, I'm not the only one.
If you know anything about old Dakota Rain, you know I have a problem not getting my hands dirty.
That's what you wish to do with your life. Then so be it.
No, I prefer to absorb it than write it.
An
So-
oral tradition.
I guess. It is the way of the gangrel.
Well, perhaps, when all said and done, there'll be a time where you'd like to wish to join me temporarily.
Join you?
To wander this country, to absorb what kindred life outside of Chicago is life, and you may return when you wish. I'll expect nothing of you. I will ask nothing of you, only if to keep up with me if you wish to stay by my side. How you exist in our journeys is entirely up to you.
Well, that is a big proposition. I will.
Do you know how often it is I find another gangrel interested in not only the education of our kind, but to understand our kind?
Well, if, your tally's anything like mine, it's a big old 0 until you.
It's an offer. I think I'd learn a lot from you.
Well, I can definitely teach you how to tear some shit up.
He chuckles.
Not that I imagine you have any problem with that. That is a very kind. I will
He holds his
definitely
hand up, like to like kind of quiet you.
consider it. Yep. Mhm.
If I see you on the other side of all of whatever is about to happen happens, that's when I would like your answer, not now. And if Chicago is where you feel you belong, then Chicago is where you should stay. But
Yeah. No, that is an offer I will consider. But you know I can't leave until I know the gangrel are safe here.
I understand. And if you are not ready by the time I am leaving, so be it. Hopefully it is not the only time we cross paths.
I doubt that's going to be the case. Most
I have a
kindred
very-
go lifetimes without seeing you, and you've shown up in Chicago at my doorstep quite a few times.
And it is a story almost none that you meet will be able to speak.
That
You are
I...
all important. You understand. You've made yourself an immovable cog in the machine that will dictate Chicago's future. Without the loud ones, Chicago would look very different right now.
That is kind of why we're called the loud ones. I'm guessing, since you came and not Rudy, he's not gonna show up tonight. Busy and all
No.
that.
I do believe you'll see him before he leaves the city. Whether
Well,
tonight or not, I'm unsure, but I think Cretius has his undivided attention.
and let's leave it that way because, boy howdy, it took a lot of energy to get them in the same room, so we're not gonna fuck that up. But I did promise Rudy something for taking the meeting with Cretius.
Are you
And
going to? Yeah, go ahead.
I thought since you're going to see him probably first, you might deliver it. He might find it beneficial.
He holds up his hand. I won't leave without him seeing you first. You hand it to him. The context behind it all might be different if I were the one to do it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. When was the last time you were part of a proper gather?
Years, decades, probably. When's yours? In a couple nights, you said.
Yep.
Until then, I would love to hear how you became the head of the gangrel in Chicago. In the meanwhile, do you have the time?
That is a very boring and bloody story.
I highly doubt it is boring or bloody. Hang on, my cats are fighting. God damn it!
Princess Bella, stop it! Stop it, he's our guest! Just stop it, Princess Bella.
It wouldn't be an SOS stream without an interruption of cats fighting.
Princess, you put Becket down, Princess Bella. Stop it. I fed mine wet food at the break, so they're both sleeping soundly right now.
Mine wants food right now too.
But
She
yeah.
keeps coming over here and
I see that.
tail,
Yeah.
back and forth. And then she's trying to like bite on the cable over here, so I have to keep pushing her.
Keep pushing her away.
He goes, hey, I don't think it'll be bloody or boring.
Oh, it was bloody, but I guess boring is subjective. Yeah,
Indulge an old man.
who am I to say no? It seems like an evening for conversations with old men.
He pulls up a seat, pulls out his notebook, and just listens. And as Dakota begins to regale with the story of how over years she became the head of the gangrel, we'll fade to black. And we'll be back next week. Now, I know next week we will not have Dot, we will not have Dakota. So when Dot returns, we will have a flashback to the gangrel gather. And we'll see what that was all about and how all that went. 3 episodes left, everybody.
Yep. Oh wait, we're not. It's not next week. You're at a wedding
Okay.
next week, aren't you?
Oh, you're right. I am I'm going to be in LA next week. I'll be in the week after that.
Yeah. So
2 weeks.
there is no show next week, but there will be a show the following week, everybody. So that'll be like the first weekend.
And then it'll be that episode, and then it'll be SOS weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
SOS weekend after
double
that.
double feature weekend. So
Screaming.
Yeah, we're there. We're
Oh my God, screaming.
all the players are arriving. All the big names are here, and we'll talk all about that in the after show.
Yep.
Which we're gonna go to right
So
now.
to confirm, y'all will be streaming Sans Dakota on the 31st, and the 7th and 8th of September will be a double feature weekend back to back.
We're wrapping
this bitch up.
It's gonna be crazy.
All right, everybody. After show time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.